Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the 50th anniversary of the International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training. Today is also the grand opening for Taiwan Land Policy Forum. So, welcome to Taiwan! Yes, thank you. Thank you for coming to Taiwan. Now, again, a very warm welcome to all our distinguished guests. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting us. We're really very honored to have all of you here today. Now, our forum, we give special thanks to our Council of Agriculture. We give special thanks to our Ministry of Interior. We give special thanks to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And, of course, our members of the Diplomatic Corps. Thank you so much. And, ladies and gentlemen, we have so many international alumni joining us here today. Overseas scholars, they are from the countries of Indonesia. Where are you? All right, a big delegation from Indonesia. From Malaysia. Over there, terima kasih. And our friends from Vietnam. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Cảm ơn. And our friends from India. Thank you for joining us. Our friends from Thailand. Sadika. Thank you for joining us. And of course, our good friends from the Philippines. It is always more fun in the Philippines. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming our host for the organizers report. Our host is the ICL PSTR Director, Dr. Jack Guisen Xu. 主任好。
I don't know, it's an amazing start. Minister Lin, Minister Ye, Secretary General Chai, honorable guests, all ambassadors and the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
It is my great honor to have you all and share with you this significant moment in the history of the ICL-PST, the International Center of the Land Policy Study and Training. Established at Taoyuan in 1968. It is an automatically and non-profit international organization joint sponsored by the Council of Agriculture of the Republic of China and the Lincoln Institute of the Land Policy, United States. Its object is to provide a training and a research opportunity for government officials, professionals, and others interested in the land and tax policies, agriculture, and rural development. In 1969, we conducted the first section. Up to now, 450 training courses has been conducted, drawing almost 18,000 participants from 132 countries. To celebrate this milestone, we are honored to hold this 50th anniversary celebrations. Today, we heartily welcome the return of our alumni from everywhere. They once called the ICRT their home away from home. Over the year, we have witnessed your success in your career. We are proud of you and cherish your friendship. Our celebration, including the grand opening, the Forum on Taiwan Land Policy Imposed Land Fund, Reformed Arrow, and the banquet tonight. The room next by is a devote to the highlighting ICL-PST history and the showcasing the memorability offered by the participants from 137th and 138th regular section. You are welcome to enjoy them at your pace. I would like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to all our supervisors, including the ROC side, the Council of Agriculture, the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of the Interior, and the National Development Council, the U.S. side, the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, especially Dr. Lincoln, David Lincoln, and his daughter, Kathleen Jo Lincoln. My thanks also go to various government agencies and the research institute who was hosting participants visiting and generously share their valuable experience. Certainly, the professor and the participant input also deserves our praise and thanks. Your support is indispensable to our success in the past, now, and the future. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy all the activity. Thank you for you all for your gracious presence. Thank you again.
And we thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Jack Shi, our host, director of ICL PST. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, and now we would like to show you a very special video clip. This is a trip down memory lane. It takes you back through the 50 years of our center, a retrospective video clip. Please, VCR.
The Republic of China Taiwan, an island nation in the Pacific, has enjoyed astonishing economic performance thanks to the diligence of its people and to a comprehensive land policy. These laid a solid foundation for economic development. A number of land reforms were enacted starting in 1949. These ushered in great changes to the agrarian society, spurring agricultural production and improving farmers' income. Not only farming villages, but Taiwan as a whole began to prosper. The world began to notice Taiwan's success. At the 1966 World Conference on Land Reform, hosted by the Food and Agriculture Organization, Taiwan's presentation was praised by many nations. The representative of the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy in attendance said that Taiwan's actions were worthy of emulation and that they were in line with Sun Yat-sen's ideas on equal rights to land, and meant a realization of Henry George's single tax theory, namely that a land tax would reduce economic inequality. To share Taiwan's land reform experience with the world, the Land Reform Training Institute, LRTI, was founded in 1968 by the ROC government and the Lincoln Institute. The LRTI trained mainly land administration, agricultural policy, taxation, and urban planning officials from Southeast Asia. As the scope of training broadened, and with changing global trends, the Institute was rechristened in 2000 as the International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training. The center is a global platform that shares Taiwan's experiences and promotes land policy and agricultural development. The center provides training and research opportunities to officials and professionals from all over the world in the areas of land, agriculture, tax policy, and rural and urban development. This empowers them to craft constructive policies that lead to economic prosperity in a peaceful, democratic fashion. In the 21st century, the center continues to expand the scope of its training opportunities. With the government's full support, the center is expanding international cooperation and training opportunities that have borne much fruit. Since 1969, the center has started to conduct core international training courses to share policy concepts in land, agriculture, and taxation, as well as the Taiwan experience. During the period 2000 to 2005, the training scope had expanded to agriculture-related training courses for local participants, leading up to the Council of Agriculture's recognition of the center as an authorized agricultural educational training institute. Since 1977, the center has started to hold international symposia and overseas alumni workshops. Since the 1980s, the center has actively sought international cooperation to conduct land and agriculture-related projects, as commissioned by foreign governments, including countries such as Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, Saudi Arabia, etc. Dr. David C. Lincoln served for 50 years to promote ties with Taiwan and remained interested in Taiwan's land and tax policies. He also used the Lincoln Institute's resources and experience to promote international cooperation and personnel training. For his efforts, Dr. Lincoln was honored with multiple awards. The center has established a clear-cut organization to allow for smooth operations. It consists of a board of directors, an executive committee, and an administrative office. The board of directors defines the center's policy, sets the general direction for operations, drafts the annual plan, and approves the annual budget and final accounting. It consists of 10 members, 5 each from the US and Taiwan. The chair and co-chair are appointed by the ROC Council of Agriculture and the Lincoln Institute. Taiwan's board members are from the Council of Agriculture, the National Development Council, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of the Interior, and academia. The U.S. board members are scholars selected by the Lincoln Institute. The Executive Committee oversees training programs and drafts the annual budget. It also hires instructors and selects participants. The Administrative Office consists of a training division and an administrative division. It handles day-to-day operations and implements programs. The center is located in the booming transportation hub of Taoyuan, Taiwan's 6th special municipality. It's just 20 minutes from the nation's foremost airport and only 40 minutes from the Taipei metropolis. Seated behind a spacious courtyard, the center houses a conference room, classrooms, computer room, dormitory, dining room, common room, a laundry room, and a gym, among other facilities. It also features an outdoor basketball volleyball court and rest area. The entire center features free Wi-Fi. While at the center, students can enjoy time together and relax when not engaged in intensive classwork. The International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training has 3 major goals: to train land and agriculture professionals from all over the world, to create an international platform for cooperation and exchanges, and to share Taiwan's experiences as a way of giving back to the world. The center hosts many training courses open to government officials, professionals, and others interested in land and tax policy, agriculture policy, and urban and rural development. Courses are 2 to 4 weeks in length and are taught by well-known Taiwanese and foreign scholars. Participants also have the chance to visit government offices, research institutes, and farmers' associations. This gives them a comprehensive understanding of Taiwan's agricultural and land policies and of its rich cultural and natural heritage. Since its establishment, the center has trained over 17,000 participants from more than 130 countries. The participants not only make good use of what they learn from the course to benefit their country and people, but also help advance Taiwan's cause on its behalf in the international arena. The center hosts regular symposia to build its image as an international platform for cooperation and exchanges. Here, scholars from around the world gather in Taiwan to exchange opinions. During training sessions, participants share how their countries have handled various issues, giving them real-world experience as well as case studies to draw from. Through international training courses, the Center shares Taiwan's experiences and Taiwan's efforts to give back to the international community. Participants can apply their newfound knowledge and improve their nation's agriculture, land, tax, and rural and urban development policies. In the half-century since its founding, the Center has grown steadily. It has built a strong foundation, and with each milestone reached and each turn in the road, it has left a noteworthy record.
We have participants from Asia, from Africa, from Europe, from South America, from North America, and they bring their experiences here and share them. I truly believe it makes the world a smaller place. I believe we've become much more knowledgeable, much more able to use the knowledge that each one of us has and share it with so many others.
I believe that Taiwan has a unique instrument here to make worldwide friends for Taiwan and for the Taiwanese government. I would say it's a unique asset they have to create friendship all over the world. I hope that this is recognized and continued and intensified and maybe even enlarged.
It's always a very strong growing up for them. It's changing of levels.
The International Center here is one of the few that has been able to maintain its program dating back to the early period, and of course changing with the changing needs and the new needs of the participants. So it really is guided by what it is that the participants are going through in terms of their own work with their governments and with their universities around the world.
As time has passed, Taiwan has grown from an agrarian economy into an industrial power known for high-tech products and precision machinery. Land policy has been adjusted to fit the times. As an important global land policy training and research institute, the International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training will continue to act as a platform for the sharing of professional knowledge on and experience with land and agricultural policy. It will help train participating countries' officials in land and agriculture through sharing Taiwan's experiences in land policy and rural development as a way to give back to the international community. It will also share Taiwan's public and private sector agricultural developments and achievements with course participants to improve Taiwan's global image.
Happy anniversary ICLPST! Feliz aniversário!
Happy anniversary! Joyeux anniversaire!
Happy anniversary! Feliz cumpleaños! Bon anniversaire!
Happy anniversary สุขสันต์ครบรอบ 50 ปีนะคะ
Selamat menyambut ulang tahun kepada ICL PST daripada kami dari Malaysia.
Happy anniversary! Srećna godišnjica!
Happy anniversary! Feliz aniversario!
Happy anniversary! Kutluyorum sizi ve herkesi buradaki.
Happy anniversary! 生日快乐!
Would like to say happy anniversary!
Of International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training. And we are still going on strong. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we are very honored to have so many distinguished guests joining us here today, and they're here to support us. So, let us welcome Minister from the Council of Agriculture. 我们欢迎农委会主委林聪贤林主委。Ladies and gentlemen, Minister Lin, Council of Agriculture, Minister Lin Congxian.
内政部叶部长，我们外交部的蔡祖密，来自印尼的布迪总司长，还有林肯学会的凯撒琳林肯女士，我们土策中心台媒各位理事，各位驻台的各位大使，各位女士，各位先生，大家早。
Minister Ye of the Ministry of Interior and Director General Dr. Budi Sitomorang from Indonesia, and Ms. Catherine Lincoln of the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy of USA, and board members of Taiwan and also the United States of ICL, PST, professors, alumni, dear participants from all over the world, thank you for coming and good morning.
诚如刚刚威西亚所介绍，我们今天共同来见证，也一起来庆祝美国林肯土地政策学会跟土策中心共同举办的50周年庆，以及台湾土地政策论坛研讨会。本人非常荣幸，代表我们农委会全体的同仁一起来表示祝贺之意。
I'm very honored to represent the Council of Agriculture to deliver this speech at the ICL PST's 50th anniversary, and also on the forum of Taiwan's land policy in the post-land reform era, which is jointly conducted by the Lincoln Institute and the ICL PST.
首先，我要感谢土策中心过去50年来对台湾土地改革跟农业发展的贡献，以及提升台湾跟各国实质关系的重大贡献。
First of all, I would like to thank the ICL PST for its very significant contributions to Taiwan's land reform and agricultural development in the past 50 years, and also to the enhancement of the substantive relationship between Taiwan and other countries.
土策中心在1968年由中华民国政府跟林肯土地政策学会共同发起成立，以台湾土地改革与政策经验，配合国际间土地跟农业相关重要的议题，办理训练课程，培训国际相关领域的重要人才。
The ICL PST was jointly established in the year 1968 by the ROC government and the Lincoln Institute. Now, basing on Taiwan's land reform experience and international land and agricultural issues, the ICL PST, we conduct training courses in related fields for international participants.
到目前为止，已经有来自132国、17789位学员来到台湾参加培训的课程，对于人力资源培育、农业技术的交流与国际合作网络的建立，成效极为卓著，同时也助于提升台湾土地政策跟农业发展的专业化，以及强化台湾回馈国际社会全球化与国际化的形象。
And up to now, a total of 17,789 participants from over 132 countries have already attended the training courses right here in Taiwan. The results are very outstanding and help to improve Taiwan's land policies and agricultural development, and also reflecting Taiwan's determination to give back to the international community.
台湾土地改革改善了土地利用效率以及所得的分配，对农业发展有非常深远的影响。
Taiwan's land reform programs improved land use efficiency and income distribution and had a profound impact on agricultural development.
过去，像375减租、土地放领、实施耕者有其田的相关措施，不仅提升农业生产，改善过去佃农生活品质，提高收入，并将土地的资金投入工商业， 奠定台湾经济发展的最重要基础。
These land reform programs, they not only increased agricultural production, improved farmers' life quality and income, but also channeled capital into industry and commerce, and thus laid the foundations for Taiwan's economic development.
随着产业发展跟结构的改变，农村劳力的外流，造成农业劳动力短缺的问题。台湾依据产业发展的情形，持续推动一系列的农业跟土地的改革方案。
In response to these structural changes in this process, such as the loss and shortage of rural labor, Taiwan has continued with a series of agricultural and farmland reform programs.
我们希望透过这一次的土地政策的论坛，以各国的贵宾、专家学者共同分享台湾经验，也希望进一步促进政策交流。相信各位今天一定会有丰富的收获。
So, we hope that through this forum here today, we may share the Taiwan experience and exchange our views and ideas. So, I believe all of you will certainly have a very abundant harvest here today.
本人也要借土策中心成立50周年的这个时间，代表中华民国政府，向我们已故的大卫林肯博士致上最崇高的敬意跟谢意。
On behalf of the ROC government, I would like to pay my dearest respect and express my dearest gratitude to the late Dr. David Lincoln.
林肯博士是中心的创始理事之一，长期以来，林肯土地政策学会奠定支持我国积极参与跟协助土策中心发展，为提升开发中国家能力建构贡献心力，促进各国乡村发展以及农民的福祉。
Dr. David Lincoln, he's one of the founding board members of the ICL-PST, and together with the Lincoln Institute, he has long been firmly supportive of our country. He actively participated in ICL-PST's development and fully devoted himself to building up the capacity of developing countries to improve their rural development and farmers' welfare.
林肯博士一生无私奉献，虽然已经不在我们的身旁，但他对我国农业跟外交上面的贡献，我国政府跟国际社会将永难忘怀。
Dr. Lincoln has worked tirelessly and devoted his full life to this cause. Not with us now. His contributions to our agriculture and diplomacy, however, will never be forgotten by our government and also by the international community.
我们当然也特别谢谢林肯博士的千金凯撒琳·林肯女士，特别代表她的父亲今天来接受我们的表扬。
And we thank Madame Catherine Lincoln to come here today to accept our tribute to Dr. David Lincoln.
当然，土策中心的成功也要归功我们所有中方的理事以及所有代表我们外交部、内政部以及国家发展委员会我们相关部会的共同努力，仅此致上我们最高的谢意。
And of course, certainly, the success of the ICL-PST is also attributed to the concerted efforts of the ROC board members and to the ministries that they represent, including the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of the Interior, and the National Development Council. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to them.
最后，我要庆祝今天所有的活动圆满成功。今天来自所有国际的所有的这个国际的外宾来到台湾一定都行程非常的丰富，大家回去以后都能够平安喜乐。
And I would like to thank all the international participants for coming here to join us. And please take home our best wishes. So in the end, I would like to wish the 50th anniversary celebration a grand success and wishing you all, our distinguished guests, success in your career. Blessings to your family.
Thank you so much.
And we thank Minister Lin. Thank you so much, Minister Lin, for your wonderful blessings and words. 谢谢诸位. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, and now please join me in welcoming the Ministry of Interior, Minister Ye Junrong. 掌声欢迎我们内政部部长叶俊荣叶部长。部长好。
Chair of the Board, Catherine, Lincoln, Minister Lin, Secretary General Chai, ambassadors, representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Morning.
It is my greatest honor to join you in the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the International Center of Land Policy Studies and Training. On behalf of the Ministry of the Interior, I would like to pay my greatest respect to the founder, to all the people who made this great center possible and also changed into this time. 50 years, wow. The number 50 to a person, maybe a little bit more than the half of the life expectancy. But to land maybe it is minimum, because land lasts forever. Regardless what kind of property right regime, regulatory system, institution, process on land, land would last forever. So it is very, very important for us to take land as something very, very critical to our humanity and development. I recall the New York Times economist Thomas Friedman once wrote an article saying, whenever anyone asks me which one is my favorite country, he replied, Taiwan, Taiwan, and Taiwan. And he said, why? He explained why. Why are so many countries, they dig so hard into the ground to get resources out, to power up the society for benefit? Taiwanese people couldn't dig anything out of the ground. But Taiwan people dig into their mind. They value education. They value talents. So they try their best to deal with the nature, to be competitive in the world, particularly in the island, with island ecology, very vulnerable to natural disaster, and also very crowded. So they got to find a way out. So land policy is extremely important to Taiwan. And that's why we had land reform in the very beginning, and that has something to do with the inception of this center. But we are confronting lots of challenges, daunting challenges. As the Minister of the Interior, I have to say and also have to confess that we are still working on that, while receiving tremendous challenges from all dimensions. Because it is a growing society and it is a democracy. Not to mention, we are facing tremendous international competition from all accounts. Yes, land is very important. And we have lots to do with land policy. Not only about land, but anything grow out of the land. Land is dynamic. Land is not a property only. Land is also a process. Land is also an institution. So in Taiwan, how to describe the dynamics of land development over past decades? Well, I would put it in a more dynamic way. I would say it's a dialectical process. It's a dialogue between local governments and central government, between all sectors of the society, agriculture sector, industrial sector, housing, transportation, education. Then, while sitting there, receiving lots of requests. Some of the requests are in conflict. So it's up to the government to balance those requests and put those into a process of dialectical nature. In fact, we see lots of top-down policy, like land reform. We consider that as quite a success. But it was done in a regime that is more with strong hand. While in this democracy, as you can observe, the Taiwan society, very violent, pluralistic, people are put on the center. How to come up with land policy? It's not like that. So it's a dialectic terms. So we have land, planning policy. About 2 or 3 years ago, we come up with the land planning laws. And now Ministry of Interior are pushing forward for that. In that plan, we try to protect agricultural land in cooperation with Council of Agriculture. We also try to preserve the land of conservation. We also try to balance between industrial development and also conservation. We launched a comprehensive dialogue in the society. And this is Taiwan. I would like to bring to your attention about Taiwan's experience and policy about land, not only that land reform policy, but also the current ones that has been going on in dynamics. In conclusion, I would like to say this is a great opportunity, again, to take Taiwan as a case with the benefit of the world. People from many societies observe Taiwan maybe from different angles, but I would like to say we have lots to offer, good and bad, challenges and opportunities. The conference, the workshop is going to bring together many experts and specialists, scholars, government officials to talk about this issue. In the end, Taiwan is also a beneficiary. We benefit from this discussion. Again, please stay longer in Taiwan this time. Go to national parks. Go to night markets. Go to the rural fish market or vegetable market. I like to do that in the early morning to feel, the spirit of Taiwan society. And also, don't forget, taste all kinds of food because we are proud of that. With that, I congratulate again, where is the anniversary of the center, and also welcome everybody to Taiwan, and thank you very much.
And we thank you, Minister Ye. Thank you so much for your wonderful words. In conclusion, enjoy Taiwan. Enjoy Taiwan. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on. Please welcome the Secretary General from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Peter Tsai. With our applause, ladies and gentlemen. Secretary General of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Peter Tsai.
Lin 主任委员 Minister of Agriculture and 叶部长 Minister of the Interior and Dr. Budi Situmo Rang Director General of Spatial Use Control and Land Tenure of Indonesia. Ms. Catherine Lincoln, Chair of the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. Excellencies, ambassadors, and honorable representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great pleasure to attend this wonderful ceremony marking the 50th anniversary of the founding of the International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training. On behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of China, Taiwan, I congratulate the Center on reaching this tremendous milestone. With strong support from the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy of the United States and from the government of Taiwan, the Center has made substantial contributions to worldwide social and economic development through training and research programs on land reform, taxation, and rural policy. More than 17,700 people from 132 countries in Asia, Europe, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean have taken part in its programs. Nearly 1/4 of participants were from partner countries under the new southbound policy. Indeed, many of them are here with us today. We are very happy to welcome you to Taiwan once again. The Center has also played an important role in enhancing Taiwan-US relations. It has long been a model for bilateral cooperation. In particular, we would like to pay tribute to Dr. David Lincoln, a founding board member of the Center. He worked tirelessly as co-chair and board member for 5 decades, dedicating a great part of his life to deepening Taiwan-US relations. With his assistance, numerous officers, scholars, and experts from around the world visited Taiwan for research and training on land reforms. Although Dr. Lincoln is no longer with us today, his legacy lives on. His work for the Center and his friendship towards our country will forever be remembered. On behalf of the government and the people of Taiwan, I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude and profound respect to Dr. Lincoln and his family. Thank you very much. In closing, I would like to once again thank the Center for its important contributions to enhancing bilateral cooperation between Taiwan and the U.S. for its achievements in global land reform and development. I wish it continued success in its future endeavors. Thank you. Terima kasih. Sawadee-ka. Cảm ơn. 谢谢.
Thank you so much. Mr. Peter Tsai, Secretary General of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you for your wonderful words. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're very honored to please welcome representatives of the members of the Diplomatic Corps, Her Excellency, Ambassador from Belize, Ambassador Madame Diana Haylock. With our applause, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Madame. Madame Ambassador.
A very pleasant good morning to everyone here today. Yes. I wish to acknowledge the Council of Agriculture Minister, and I won't try and say your name, Minister, because I still have difficulties with the proper way of pronouncing it, but Minister Lin, the Minister of Interior, Dr. Ye, the ICLPST, such a mouthful, isn't it? Director, Dr. Xiu, Secretary General of MOFA, Peter Tsai, fellow members of the Diplomatic Corps and ambassadors and representatives, Ms. Catherine Lincoln, Chair of the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, and co-chair of the ICL-PST Board of Directors. I am honored this morning to offer a very few remarks on this auspicious occasion. This, the 50th anniversary of the ICL-PST. 50 years ago, in 1968, the founders of this institution understood the critical importance of land to the social and economic development of countries and the well-being of their people. They articulated its purpose and objectives to be providing training and research for government officials, professionals, and scholars in various areas pertaining to land and agriculture, areas such as land and tax policies, urban and rural development, agrarian reform, demonstrating the beneficence of land distribution through peaceful and democratic means, bringing about social and economic prosperity through constructive land policies. And all of this was founded on the basis of the work that was going on in land reform and agrarian reform in Taiwan. Access to land has been and continues to be a most vexing issue for far too many of the world's people. I believe, understanding this, the ICL-PST has sought to contribute to making it less so through the various training courses and research programs it has offered to nearly 1,800 participants from over 130 countries in various regions in Asia, Latin America and the Caribbean, the Pacific, and Europe. This is an average of 360 or so beneficiaries per year. These beneficiaries, one would believe, have gone on to play their role in the social and economic development and advancement of their countries through improved land and agricultural policies. This is a stellar contribution that Taiwan, through the ICL-PST, has made to the international community in the land reform and agricultural development. This outstanding contribution of the ICL-PST is a classic example of the important role Taiwan plays in international cooperation and development. I congratulate the ICL-PST on this, the 50th anniversary of its founding. And furthermore, in the name of my own country, Belize, and I want to believe I can safely say on behalf of the countries that comprise the diplomatic corps, I thank you, ICL-PST, and by extension, I thank you, Taiwan, for your unstinting generosity in sharing your knowledge, expertise, and critical resources in a quest for a sustainable future and an all-around better world. I thank you.
And we thank you, Your Excellency, Ambassador Madame Diana Haylock. Thank you for your wonderful words. Thank you, Madame. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the ICL-PST in the past 50 years, as we've seen in our speeches and videos, had over 17,000 participants from over 132 countries. Now, our alumni, they're all very outstanding. After they finished our courses, they went home, they all had very outstanding contributions and achievements to their own country. Now, many alumni are here with us today, including alumni from Taiwan, alumni from Indonesia, India, Malaysia, Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines. So, our alumni, please wave your hand And our applause. Thank you for coming back. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speech. Once again, we must acknowledge our huge delegation from Indonesia. Our delegations from Indonesia, please wave your hand. Thank you for coming. Terima kasih, terima kasih. Now, our keynote speech originally was to be given by Minister Sofyan Jalil from Indonesia, minister from the Ministry of Agrarian and Spatial Planning. However, he was called upon by the President of Indonesia for a very urgent mission, very urgent matter. So right now, he's very busy. He cannot come, but he sends his regard. However, coming here today for the keynote speech, let us welcome Dr. Budi Situmorang. Please, Director General, Spatial Utilization of Ministry of Agrarian and Spatial Planning, for the keynote speech. The theme is Indonesia Agrarian Reform and Systemic Comprehensive Land Registration.
Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Interior, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassadors and Director of the ICLPST, distinguished participants of the 50th anniversary of International Center for Land Study and Training. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
It's my honor to be here today and gratitude on the 50th anniversary of the International Center for Land Study and Training, ICLPST. On behalf of my Minister Sofyan Jalil, I deeply appreciate for this celebration and express our gratitude for the effort made by the ICLPST in holding various trainings, courses, inviting participants from all over the world. It mentioned it's more than 130 countries. I believe those trainings have made many substantial contributions to the socio-economy of many countries, especially in the field of land and agriculture, as we experience in our country, Indonesia. Many Indonesian officials and professionals are alumni from this center and benefited a lot of knowledge from the training in the field of land policy, land administration, agrarian reform, land readjustment, and many others. Some of them, especially from Indonesia, are here. And I would like to introduce my colleagues from Indonesia. Can you stand up, please? Thank you. Distinguished participants and ladies and gentlemen, at the previous moment, I would like also inform you how Indonesia has developed in a lot aspect of the and continues improve and build the nation capacities in the land policy. I can build 2 Indonesian mine program right now in Indonesia. It's agrarian reform and the land registration. Those 2 main programs are stated in the National Medium Term of Development Plan 2050-2019, which targeted land distribution and legalization of 9 million hectare land for the people. Agrarian reform mainly is addressed to rearrange and manage land ownership structure to achieve justice and prosperity. Simply, it can be inferred as a policy to reduce land ownership gap between the rich and the poor. It has 2 approaches, asset reform and access reform. The asset reform means to redistribute land owned by the government or the large company and legalize to the people. In certain circumstances as stated by the institution. Whereas the access reform deals with the empowering program to raise the people prosperity. The agrarian reform is divided into 2 main schemes, asset legalization and land distribution. The asset legalization is set up to certify 0.6 million hectares from the transmigration land and 3.9 million hectares from the people-owned land, which conducted by the systematic and comprehensive land registration. While land distribution is targeted to distribute 0.4 million hectares come from the ex-cultivation right, abandoned land, and other state-owned land. And the last 4.1 million hectares come from the release of the forest area. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, the agrarian reform is not only focused on the asset and access reform, but also covered the land management aspect as well. In order to improve our environment quality, the land policy regarding rearrangement of the land tenure and land use in accordance with the special planning is also very important. One of the instruments is the land consolidation to address issues related to land either in the urban and rural area in Indonesia. The challenges land consolidation in Indonesia is how to implement it, the theory, the concept of land consolidation in the urban area like in Jakarta and other dense cities. It requires good coordination between all the stakeholders, regulatory framework, and people participation. If this is done well, it could be one of the solutions on Indonesian urban issues, especially for the housing. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, the 9 million hectare agrarian reform target, however, is such a quite hard target because until 2016, Indonesia has experienced usually land legalization is only 500,000 hectares per year. But we target in 2070, we launched a mass legalization program to accelerate and achieve the target, what we call it systematic and comprehensive land registration. We call it PTSL in Indonesia, program pendaftaran tanah sistematik lengkap. And surprisingly, in last year, Indonesia mapped more than 5 million parcels of the land and produced around 4.5 million land certificates, such a tremendous achievement, of course. The target is also gradually being increased in the coming years. This year and next year, the target is become 7 million and 9 million certificates, respectively. And by the 2025, Indonesia, all the parcels of Indonesia must be registered. The beneficiary of this program, what Indonesia have already done, is one, is people would be safer by receiving and holding their land certificates. The second, the land certificate can be modified to the bank and get an access loan. The third one is reduce the land conflict. Indonesia have many conflicts of the land. And the last is use as a database to many aspects of development plan, taxation, and land acquisition. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants, this program has contributed quite significant in addressing several problems related to the land in Indonesia. During period of 2050-2070, this program has certified more than 34,000 hectares of the land transmigration and more than 1.8 million hectares for the people-owned land. And also almost 200,000 hectares of the ex-cultivation and unused land right, abandoned land, and other state-owned land. Furthermore, the program covers not only asset legalization, but also followed by access reform to empower people by supervising, facilitating, assessing the capital syndication, marketing their product. Several success stories can be noted in several regions in Indonesia as the people dairy farm in some regency. This is a collaboration access reform from between the government, people, and also for the private sector. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, again, I would like to thank you and express our gratitude to the ICLPCST who already invited and involved many Indonesian officials and professionals I believe this cooperation will be long-lasting and benefit both Indonesia, Thailand, and might be also for all countries that you are already invited. In closing, I wish the previous anniversary and the precious anniversary and seminar will be enrich our idea and concept and benefit us, Indonesia, especially in the field of land and agriculture development. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Director General Dr. Budi Sirmarang. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and your kind words. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember the film that we've showed you, I'm sure you remember this very important key person. He is the heart and soul of our 50 years of the ICL-PST. He is Dr. David Lincoln. He co-founded our center. He participated in its establishment. He is, in fact, the founding board member. He was the co-chair, board of directors, from the year 1969 to 2001. Then, in the year 2002, he handed over his position to his daughter, Madame Catherine Lincoln. And, however, he continued to be a very active member in the board of directors. We're sad to say that Dr. David Lincoln has passed away in March of 2017, last year. So, we're now paying tribute to him. And so please welcome our senior member of our center, Mr. Francis Lee, for the tribute to Dr. David Lincoln.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to share with you how we remember Dr. Lincoln. What we saw in Dr. Lincoln was the personification of an idea that made changes in many. He was inspired by Henry George, the 19th century economist and philosopher, who called for taxation of land as a social and economic solution to social and economic inequality, an idea akin to the founding father of the Republic of China, Dr. Sun Yat-sen's idea of equalization of land rights, which was written into Constitution. Espousing these ideas, Dr. Lincoln worked with the ROC government and gave birth to the ICL-PST, an idea realized in its first step. Dr. Lincoln's guidance at the ICL-PST board is both intellectual and affectionate. This helps the ICL-PST move ahead of time and expand from land reform issues to agriculture and rural development, farmland and urban land policy, and land taxation. These expansions significantly impact class dynamics and enlarge alumni base to 17,789 from 132 countries up to now. They all occupied important positions, including minister, ambassador, congressman, and even vice president. The ICL-PST has a special place in their heart, as evidenced by our returning alumni here with us today. Here we are today to celebrate ICL-PST's 50th anniversary, while recalling the genesis of this center as an idea, a belief of Dr. Lincoln turned to fruition and still achieving and pursuing beyond its half-century's existence. Our heart is saddened with the passing of Dr. Lincoln in March. His contributions to and love for the ICLP and the ROC have been taken to heart by our President Tsai Ing-wen, who presents a presidential citation to express our country's deepest gratitude to his benevolence to the ROC and the world through the ICL-PST, and to express our heartfelt condolences to his family. The President's citation reads, in a tribute to Dr. David C. Lincoln, Presidential Citation Number 1345, Dr. David C. Lincoln, an American national who was a founding board member of the International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training, ICLPST, was a man of compassion, erudition, and deep insight. Possessing ambition and principle alike, Dr. Lincoln contributed to the public welfare through his work as an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and civic leader, befitting his character and profound ideals. In addition to being a founding member and co-chair of the Taiwan-US ICLPST, representing the United States at the organization in assisting with land tax regulations and reforms, and supporting the development of Taiwan's agricultural sector and economy, Dr. Lincoln also served as chair of the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, where he remained an active board member throughout his life. Dr. Lincoln assisted personnel from developing countries to visit Taiwan for research and training and promoted international cooperation and exchange. His dedication to spreading the experience of successful reform embodied social fairness and justice, and his thoughtfulness was always complemented by timely action. Well known for his contributions to the people's livelihood, Dr. Lincoln was dedicated to developing human resources, and his numerous specialist works remain a clear and significant testament to his far-reaching knowledge. The government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, previously honored Dr. Lincoln with the Order of Brilliant Star with a special cravat, the Order of Brilliant Star with a violet grand cordon, and a first-class interior medal, attesting to his long-standing and staunch support of Taiwan. His dedication to the study of land and agricultural policies in Taiwan made tremendous contributions to this country. Earning our heartfelt respect, we offer our sincere condolences upon learning the sad news of Dr. Lincoln's passing, and offer this tribute as an expression of our profound gratitude to him and his family. Tsai Ing-wen, President, Lai Ching-te, Premier, May 11, 2018.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to commemorate Dr. David Lincoln, his lifetime achievement and contributions, our government would like to present the presidential citation from our president, Madam President Tsai Ing-wen. So please welcome Ministry of Foreign Affairs Secretary General Mr. Peter Tsai to come on stage to present the presidential citation to the daughter of Dr. David Lincoln, Madam Catherine Lincoln. Please come onto the stage to accept the presidential citation. Thank you. Madam Catherine Lincoln is also the co-chair of ICLPST and Board of Directors and chair of the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. The presidential citation. The photo, please. And now we present the English translation. The English translation. Yes, it's translated. So, another photo together with the English translation. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary General. Thank you so much. Please be seated. And now, your speech, Madam Catherine Lincoln.
Oh, I'm not going to make a speech. I'm not. I'm just going to say a few words. First of all, it's an incredible honor to be here again with this amazing community. And the honor that you have bestowed upon my father and indeed my family will be long remembered and very much appreciated. So I thank you all very much for this. If Dad were here, and we miss him, he's here, he's just in spirit, but if he were here physically, he would say, oh, what's all the fuss about? Let's get on with the work. Let's celebrate the people who are doing the work and who are doing the amazing things around the globe that started in this little tiny idea in Taiwan and has grown and blossomed into an amazing institution that is known worldwide. 132 countries, almost 18,000 people. I have to say that because all the speeches in front of me said that, so I have to repeat it again. all of those countries, all of those people are having an amazing impact. I liken it, as I think my dad would as well, to a pebble that gets dropped into a calm lake. And you might not see the ripple when it gets to the other shore, but it's certainly there, and it certainly has an impact as it goes that way. He was always about the work. He was always about what's next. Yes, let's celebrate this, but let's think about how we can think about the next 50 years. How are we going to grow and change and be flexible in an organization to continue to improve the way people think about the subjects that are so important to us, that are not as transparent, perhaps, to other people, but are so basic and important? So his legacy here is each of you, each of the participants, each of the colleagues that we know. That's his legacy, because you are here celebrating this place that we all know and love so much. So again, I am deeply honored to represent the family and to thank you so much for this amazing citation. And I am equally happy for the English version. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our applause to Madame Catherine Lincoln. And of course, in tribute to Dr. David Lincoln, who passed away just in March of 2018 this year. Thank you so much. Thank you. We all love Dr. David Lincoln. Thank you very much, Catherine. Ladies and gentlemen, now moving on to our also a very important part of our event today, the launching ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, this is for the launching ceremony. This marks the 50th anniversary of ICL-PST. So please join me in welcoming Minister Lin from the Council of Agriculture, Minister Ye from the Ministry of Interior, and Secretary General Mr. Peter Tsai from Ministry of Foreign Affairs to please come onto the stage. And also once again, Catherine, we need you again on stage for this very important launching ceremony. And also please welcome Ambassador from the Republic of Palau, Ambassador, Your Excellency, Dilme Okira. Ambassador Dilme Okira, please join us on stage. Thank you for your applause, our applause. And also, once again, Dr. Budi Sidomorang, we need you again. Thank you. This is for the launching ceremony. As some of our participants know, 6 is a very lucky number for us, all right? So we have 6 participants. Now, I need your help. I need your help. Please, ladies and gentlemen, your right hand and your left hand. Okay. Get ready to put it on the magic ball. However, not yet. We count down together, okay? Can we do that? Hey, 50th anniversary. Let's count down together, okay? Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please put your hand on the magic ball. Ladies and gentlemen, the 50th anniversary of the International Center for Land Policy Studies and Training. 50 years! Happy anniversary! Thank you, thank you. Please pose for the photo. Thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, when I say ICL-PST, you say happy anniversary, okay? 1, 2, 3. ICL-PST. Thank you, thank you. Please stay, please stay. Another photo. Please welcome our distinguished guests and USA board members, please. We have 6 more on stage. Director, please. Our US board members, distinguished guests, 6 plus 6, 12. 6, a lucky number. You want more, another 6, please. Do this photo again, okay? ICL-PST, and then you say, happy anniversary, okay? We can do this, we can do this. Thank you for joining us, our US board members and our distinguished guests. So, one more group photo, big smile. First photo, a big smile. Our media friends, big smile. Our photographer in the center, please, a big smile. All right. Now, the thumbs up again, thumbs up again. ICL-PST! Thank you! Happy anniversary! 50 years, we're still going on strong. Thank you so much. Thank you for your applause. Now, as if this photo is not enough, we want to do one more super grand photo outside on the stairway. Outside on the stairway. So please, ladies and gentlemen, 诸位部长，我们移驾到外面楼梯口再拍一张 one more super grand photo on the stairway. Yeah. Okay, please, thank you. Okay, we're going to do this together, okay? I need everybody. First, yes, everybody. So, now, but we have to do it in part because we want to have your positions. Your positions are all set, okay? So, our distinguished guests are moving towards the stairway. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please look at me. This column and this column. Row 1, row 2, row 3. Please, let us also move forward. Our other guests, please wait, okay? We do this part by part because we want to cram in the positions accurately. We have positions set accurately. Okay, now, please listen to me. Hear me, hear me, hear me. Thank you for your attention. This column and this column, all the rest of the rows, please. Take your positions, okay? Now, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this column, now please, let us move forward to the stairway. Okay, we move in parts because we have positions set. We don't want to cram everybody. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, this column, please, let us move for the super grand photo. 大合照, 大合照. Super grand photo. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming remarks by Dr. George McCarthy, our President and CEO of Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. Morning, sir.
Thank you so much, and thank you, distinguished guests and all of you who have come out to spend time with us. But before I make any comments about what's about to come, I really do want to thank the staff of the ICLPST for what a terrific job you did in putting together this whole event. So thank you so much. I know what hard work it is, and you've done an excellent job. So very often at the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, where I work, we're asked, what is land policy? And I think it's useful to think about it for a minute because land policy plays a very critical role in all the things we're about to talk about this afternoon and really in the history of Taiwan. So for us, land policy is really kind of the rules of the game that kind of mediate the relationship between people and place. And what they are, the rules of the game are designed as a way to help us overcome, as people, our own kind of human flaws, meaning that we don't and we won't use land to its best purpose unless we find a way to organize ourselves collectively to make better use of land. And so land policy are the tools, the procedures, the ways that we actually overcome our own deficiencies as individuals to make sure that land is used to the best ends. So we're now celebrating 50 years of the ICLPST, and as you've already heard today, the scope and the reach of the ICLPST is quite immense. 18,000 people trained in 132 countries. This is quite remarkable, and I think that it really attests to all the hard work and the vision of people like David Lincoln when they thought about what we could do to learn from the experience of Taiwan, to share Taiwan's experience, and to learn from other places in the world. But when we reflected on this day today, we thought, you know, we've done a good job of really transmitting the experience of Taiwan in a person-to-person fashion very well through the trainings. We brought people here. We had symposiums here. We sent them back home. But we haven't actually done a very good job of recording the experience of Taiwan. And so we asked Su Chin Lin, a researcher here and a faculty member at one of the universities here, to assemble a group of researchers to just ask 3 basic questions about different aspects of land policy in Taiwan. What is the history of that land policy? Why was that land policy used? What did Taiwan learn, and how should the rest of the world think about learning from Taiwan's experience? And as you know, the experience in Taiwan is quite extraordinary, but it also, mistakes were made as well as advancements were made. But one of the things that attracted us 50 years ago to Taiwan was the embrace of land policy as a tool for equality and social justice, and finding ways to use land to benefit everybody, not just the few. And we really appreciated the embrace of Sun Yat-sen and Henry George in the way land policy was conceived. And as you'll hear in these 3 panels that we have coming up, land policy has been applied and implemented in different ways that are always based on that same principle. How do we use land to the best purpose, and how do we find ways to make the use of land beneficial to our entire nation and to the world. And so I hope you really appreciate the challenges of putting together and processing the history of land policy here in Taiwan. And the three panels, the first panel will be on agricultural land reform. The second panel will be on urban land policy and planning. And the last panel will be on taxation. And you'll see that there is a lot to learn from Taiwan. I learned an awful lot by reading the papers that were prepared. And I hope you enjoy what we have coming up. So thank you so much. And thank you again for joining us.
And thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. CEO, Dr. McCarthy, CEO of Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. Thank you very much. Please be seated. So, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our panel one, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Professor Lin Guoqing. Please be seated on stage. He is our former Deputy Minister from the Council of Agriculture, and now welcoming our presenter. Please be seated on stage, Professor Liu Xiaolan. Please. Thank you, Professor Liu. Please join us on stage. Welcoming our presenter, Professor Wang Junhao. Professor Wang, please join us on stage. Thank you so much. And also, to be joining us on stage, we will have Professor James Riddell from the United States. Please join us. Thank you, sir. And Dr. Rainer Adam from Germany. Please join us. Thank you, sir. Guten Morgen. I do this at other forums. So if you don't mind, can we have a photo of your panel before we start? Please. One photo of our panel. Yes. Okay. Please, our photographer. Thank you. Our applause to panel one. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please be seated. So, ladies and gentlemen, for paper one, please join me in welcoming our presenter, Professor Liu Xiaolan, on the agricultural land conversion. Please.
Good morning, everyone. And I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to introduce the agricultural land conversion in Taiwan for the past 50 years. So everybody knows that one. This is the content of my presentation. And I think diversity of the land use is very commonly observed. So land use competition is very commonly. According to the Tuners and Alonso's theory, that if which one can pay the highest rent, they can get the land use in that location. So this is a basic competition, land use competition theory. In Taiwan, after the land reform, our economic development shifted from the agricultural development to the industrialization. So from the 1952 in Taiwan, our land competition was beginning in that stage. So we want to, now we will overview our policy of agricultural land conversion. So from the 1952, we can separate our stage for the three stages. First stage, we have the agricultural sector have the economic advantage to compete the land. So at that stage, our policy is to help the industrial sector to acquire more land. This is so that means from the 1970s, our policy is help the industrial sector to get more land. But after the 1970s, the agricultural sector, the economic advantage was disappeared. So from the 1970s to the 1990s, our policy is switched from the to protect the agricultural land. So from the 1970s to the 1990s, because agriculture, the economic advantage disappeared. So our policy is to protect our agriculture land. So after the 1990s, because we will enter, the first things we will enter the WTO, and the second things, because the agriculture is still decreasing. So at that moment, we had a lot of people said we should deregulation of our agricultural land. So we have our policy is switched to the release the agricultural land to the industrial sector and the urban area. So this is our policy. Before the 1970s, our land is to help to get the industrial sector can get more the land. And this one, I will explain the content about these policies later. So after that one, from the 1952 to the year 2016, we lost almost 82,000 hectares of the agricultural land. But this one, we can see that one, the agricultural land is still decreasing. But during these things, we can see that one, the paddy field is decreasing, but the upland is increasing. That means we lost not only the agriculture, the number of the agriculture, but also the quality of the agriculture is decreasing too. If we compare with the policy and the number of the agricultural land, I see that one. Sorry. This one, we can see that one. Before the 1970s, our policy is to help the industry to get the more land. But we can see that one, the agricultural land is still increasing. This one, because at that moment, the agricultural sector still have the economic advantage. So even our policy to help the industry sector to get more land, but our agricultural land is still increasing. After 1970s, agriculture lost the economic advantage. So our policy to protect. But even we have to protect. The highest point is in the 1977. After 1977, our agricultural land is decreasing. So this reason we can even our policy to protect agriculture, but we lost the economic advantage. So the market power is over the planning power. And during the 1990s, our policy is to release our agriculture to the other sectors. So the agricultural land is decreasing very sharply. For example, I can give you the number. For example, from the 1977 to the 1995, the agriculture, we lost the agriculture every year, about 1,000 hectares every year. But after 1995, we have released the agriculture, our agriculture to the other sector. We lost almost 7,200 hectares per year. So you can see that one. After 1995, our agricultural land decreased a lot. After that one, we still have another problem. Even we have protected this kind of agriculture there, but we still have a lot of non-agricultural land use on our agricultural land right now. Especially, we can say that one, the housing and the factory is mostly the big issue in our country right now. So I want to introduce these two for everyone. The first one, I want to show you the farmhouse. The farmhouse is come from the amendment of Agricultural Development Act in 2000. In the year 2000, for this amendment, two things is significant. Because before the 2000 year, our agricultural land should be used by the agriculture and owned by the farmers. But after that one, after year 2000, the agriculture owned by the farmers does not exist. That means it can be owned by the non-farmers. And the second thing is because at that moment, after 1990s, the land price is very high. It is not easy to get housing. So after year 2000s, the agricultural sector to help the farmer can have the housing on their own farm agricultural land. So that means we call that is the farmhouse. So in the beginning, we want to help the farmer to get their own housing. But we can see that. So we have this kind of status of building farmhouse in the year 2001. But according to the statistics right now, we have 66% of our agricultural land, the farmhouse is on the agricultural land. It's less than the 0.225 hectares. That means this policy make our agricultural land becomes very small pieces. This one is the first thing. And the second thing, another interesting thing is, you can see that one. The most the farmhouse is mostly is located in the primary agricultural zone. 70% of this farmhouse is located in primary agricultural zone. And everybody knows that one. The primary agricultural zone is high quality of our agricultural land. So you can see that one. Everybody on our high quality agricultural land have the farmhouse on that one. Everybody can see. What is farmhouse right now in Taiwan? I can show you this picture. Okay, this is the farmhouse in Taiwan right now. This is one thing. And another thing I want to show you, you can see what kind of serious about our agricultural development. This is an aerial photograph in the Yilan. It's close to the Taipei metropolitan. This is all is agricultural land. And you can see that the red one is the farmhouse. So you can think about that way. In the beginning, we want to help the farmer to have their own housing. But finally, you can see the farmhouse is located everywhere in our agricultural land. And another interesting thing, you can see that one. Most of the farmhouse is surrounding our metropolitan area. You can see that one, the Yilan and the Nantou, that is in the metropolitan area. And the south of the Taiwan is our major agricultural production county. But you can see that one, it do not have a lot of farmhouse. So we found these kind of problems. And we can see that one, the same time, only 82, and about 39% of this farmhouse owned by the farmers. Okay, so what they did, it is for the restaurant and for the resort. Okay, so this is then about the use of the farmhouse. And so our government found this kind of problem. So in the year 2013, we have some some new regulation about this farmhouse. So after this one, you can see that one. In the before, it is increasing. Maybe I can show you, because the last one is the year 2014. That is on the March. But you still can see, after we have this new regulation, the number of the farmhouse is decreasing. Another thing is, because for the environment, if you can see that the photo, this farmhouse is located everywhere. So our government wants to have this kind of, we so-called cluster farmhouse. Cluster farmhouse, that means we have the 20 farmers, they can get together. They can build the housing together and cultivate in the other place. Then, very interesting in this one, because the 20 farmers, at least 20 farmers get together to build housing. And they can have their farmer to cultivate in other place. You can see that one. Over 90%, that means in primary zone and the agriculture and the urban agriculture zone is almost the housing is located in that area. But how about the agriculture then for their cultivate? Where is this? Almost 60%. You can see that one. Sorry. Almost 60% in the slope land and the preservation zone. So that means a good location is for the housing. And the marginal, the secondary farmer, the agricultural land is for the cultivate. So another thing I want to discuss is about the factory, especially for we said illegal, because agricultural land shouldn't have this kind of factory. So we said it is illegal factories. And so according to the survey last year, we have over 136 illegal factory on the 13,000 hectares of agricultural land. This is a picture. This is our agricultural land, and you can see how many illegal factory on that one. This is in Zhanghua. Why we have this kind of illegal factory, so many illegal factory in Taiwan right now? We have the history background. The first reason, I think it is for the labor supply. I just mentioned in the 1950s, our economic development shifted to the industrialization. And at that moment, the industrialization is labor intensive. All the industry is labor intensive. This kind of labor intensive is come from the agricultural sector. So the firms wanted to get the labor force, so they will close to the agricultural village. So that will be on the agricultural land. Then, if we say that one, during the 1960s to the 1970s, our policy is to help the industrial sector to get more land. But if their agricultural land converted into the industrial district, they should pay the tax. Because in our country, our tax policy, the agricultural land doesn't need to pay the tax. If converted to the other land use, you should pay the tax. So everybody thinks, I don't want to pay the tax. So that means a lot of the illegal factory on the agricultural land. The third one, I think, is the location. This location is the industrial district location. During the 1960s, because after 1960, our government established a lot of the industrial zone. But this industrial zone, this kind of industrial zone is not good location. It's far away from the agricultural village. Or if do not have very good transportation network. Therefore, the firms doesn't want to locate it in that industrial district. If the location is very good, there are two things. One thing is it is full. The other thing is the land price is much higher than the agriculture price. So that's the reason why, if I can locate it in a cheaper place, why I should move to the higher land price place? So this is so the first is the land price, and the fifth reason is agglomeration economies. If one firm located there, then others will want to locate it that too. The last one, I think, is the physical effect. Because this is an illegal factory located in the rural area, they can create a lot of job opportunity. So the local government doesn't want to keep this factory away. So even our policy and we have our regulation cannot do that one. So the government doesn't want to give them taxes to punish them. Okay, finally, I can say for the competition is for have the market lead and the planning lead. For the market lead, we hope we can including this kind of ecological value. And the second thing is for the planning the lead, the government should execute the policy strictly. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Professor Liu. That was the paper 1 on agricultural land conversion. Moving on to paper 2, land policy development and agricultural transition. Please join me in welcoming Professor Wang Junhao. Professor Wang.
Morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Junhao Wang from National Taiwan University. Today is my great honor to have this opportunity to present the article entitled Land Policy Development and Agricultural Transition. I divide my presentation into 4 parts. The first one is overview agricultural development in Taiwan. The second one, I will introduce the land reform programs and their socio-economic consequences. We have, according to the official documents, we have 3 stages of land reform since 1949. The third part, I would like to discuss the paradigm shift in agricultural policy, especially from productivism to multifunctionality. I will select 2 policy cases to introduce the multifunctional agriculture. The final part is conclusion and policy implication. Okay, here is some basic information about Taiwan agricultural sector. Taiwan agriculture is characterized by small-scale family farms. The average farm size is about only 1 hectare. And for the farmers, there are 555 farmers nowadays. The share is about 5% only. And the average age is quite old. It's about 62 years old. Also, such a small-scale farming system in Taiwan faces a challenge of structural problems and trade liberalization, also climate change. Another problem is the food sufficient ratio is quite low. It's about only 31%. Okay, here's more details information about the basic features of agricultural development. As we can see, the cultivated land area and the agricultural population, also the farmers of total employment, and the agricultural contribution to GDP declined dramatically over the past half centuries. However, the average farm size stay quite stably, only 1 hectare. So we begin with the first stage of land reform policy. The objective is redistribution of poverty rate and focus more on social equality and stabilities. Several measures also introduced, for example, the rent reduction on sales of public land to tenants and the land to the tillers. There are also several positive contributions. For example, agricultural productivities and farm household income increased. And this is also helped to boost the overall economic growth after war times. And the other consequence is that the self-employed farmers increased to 80% after the first stage land reforms. That also result in shaping a smallholder farming system until nowadays. Here's some official old photos and the documents about the first stage land reforms. So in 1982, the government announced the second stage reforms. The objective is in enlargement of farm size and try to remove the disadvantages of small-scale farming left by first stage land reform. Also, several measures, for example, agricultural land consolidation, encourage different kinds of cooperative farming systems. Also, the government provides long-term preferential loans for farmers to purchase farmland. And the result shows that the participants in the second stage land reform, their farm size increased slightly from about 0.9 to 1.3 hectares. However, another achievement is that the farm mechanization is reached a high point, about 97%. Until the stage 3, the land reform starts in 2009. The objective is similar but not quite the same. We try to improve the agricultural structure, both for the age structure and the farm size structures. We try to foster intergenerational transfer of farm populations. For example, to encourage old age farmers out and recruiting young farmers in the agricultural sector. And this is a quite famous program in Taiwan now called Small Lowland and Big Tenants. The government provides subsidies for the land rent, both for the old age landlords and young tenants. However, the farmland must be leased for a minimum period of 3 years. The resource is quite successful. In total, there are about 14,000 hectares of farmland leased last year. And the average age of the young big tenants is about 42 years. They operate averagely 8.7 hectares. So this is another propaganda for the official propaganda for the SLBT programs. We can see the young farmers with big farm machines on website or Facebooks We also use the microfilm, try to attract the young people join into the farming career. We also use the comparison between the problem of old farmers and the hope of young farmers on the magazines. So here's more details results of the SLBT programs. We can see that the number of small landowner and rented area in these programs increased obviously. So we now have more younger farmer and larger with larger farm size. So I try to summarize the three-stage land reform in Taiwan. The second and third stage, we try to remove the disadvantage of first stage land reforms. We try to enlarge the farm size. However, the second one is not so successful, but we are now satisfied with the third stage land reform process. On the next part, I would like to introduce a paradigm shift in agricultural policy. We can see the first and second stage of land reform. We focus more on how to increase farm productivities. However, in 1991, the government announced a new concept how agricultural development should be. This is 三生农业. In addition to the production, the agriculture development should pay more attention on especially village life or the rural ecology development. This, after becoming a member of WTO, we use the international term, that is multifunctional agriculture. So we focus more on the non-market value and public goods jointly produced by farming activities and the environment. We care more about environmental sustainability and biodiversity. Later, I will introduce two policy cases. So, however, under the multifunctionality or multifunctional agriculture, several interesting phenomena happened in Taiwan. For example, the rural tourism, or farm accommodation and the restaurants and farmhouse, even in these 2 years, is the solar farms. All happens on the farms. If we use a bird view to see what happens in Taiwan's farmland, we can see the leisure facilities, accommodations, farmhouse that all related to the farmland use under the new agricultural policy. So the leisure agriculture program is a special one. That is just like rural tourism or farm tourism. We try to use the countryside combined with agricultural landscape, farming activity, or rural village life, and try to create some new incomes for farmers. So under such program, land use has been changed. For example, construction of specific tourism or recreational facilities, such as accommodation, catering, processing site or farm shop. That is regarded as legal agricultural use in Taiwan now. So we can see this leisure farms is everywhere in Taiwan. This is a spatial distribution. The problem is farmland under the leisure agriculture policy is not anymore a food or the agricultural production base. It is more likely to be recreational resources for urban tourists. However, leisure agriculture and farm tourism has indeed improved the rural economy and landscape significantly, as well as create lots of local business and specialities. Another policy case is Health for Agriculture, which introduced in 2007. They put more attention on environmental friendly farming systems, also the food safety. There are there are three certification or labeling systems. For example, the organic farming system, it is not allowed any chemical inputs used on the farmland. And the other three is traceable agricultural products and the GAP, good agricultural practice. These two certification systems follow conventional farming methods, but under special consideration of environmental quality and food safety. Our government also introduced another program, is school lunch program. We try to provide safe food and agricultural products for the school children. That also helped to create new selling channel for such agricultural, such healthful agricultural business. Here we can see the health for agricultural development. We can see not only the farming area, but also the all producers groups and the numbers of farmers increase slightly, but always upward to increased. Only except 2007. This year is the government tried to use the traceability system instead of the GAP system. Okay, so I come to the conclusion and policy implication. For Taiwan, I think the success of Taiwan's land reform happens under extraordinary circumstance. And the land reform is not a solution for socio-economic problems of agricultural and rural development. Several negative consequences are often overlooked. And besides, the land reform I will suggest that should be a dynamically rearranged process to rearrange rules, institutions, and rights that access to land or control over land or how to use land resources. But Taiwan land reform experience, I think, is by nation the case for lost country with small-scale farming systems. Especially, we have three stages land reform that reflects how the agricultural development and how the farmland should be used. And finally, the objective and strategies of land reform should depend on societal needs and expectations, such as first, maybe is the social equality, maybe the economic growth, or maybe finally and most importantly is the environmental sustainability. Thank you for your listening.
And we thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Wong. That was paper 2, Land Policy Development and Agriculture Transition. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator, our chair of panel 1. He is our former Deputy Minister from the Council of Agriculture, Professor Lin Guoqing. Professor Lin, you have the floor. Our applause.
Yeah, thank you very much. And distinguished guests and our alumni, and good morning to everyone. And I feel honored today to have a chance to be a chairman for this session. And all four of you are my good friends for a long period of time. And we just listened to two speakers give a speech on the agricultural land conversion and also the policy development and the agricultural development in Taiwan. I think they pinpoint the major problem until now we face. Of course, we have achieved some great performance in the past. But before I'm going into this kind of discussion, may I have just 1 or 2 minutes to give some of my thought? to what they just said. And I think the one thing we have to look at Taiwan's experience is Taiwan's population. The density is the second highest in the world. So, and also the per capita income now is around 23,000 or 24,000 US dollars. So which means the pressure on land actually is very high. But if you look at the planned area, we call the cultivated land population density, also the second highest in the world. The highest actually is Japan. Taiwan is the second highest. Another thing I have to share with you is agricultural land prices. I think Taiwan now is the highest in the world. So per capita, per hectare, agricultural land prices now I think is $500,000 US dollars. So for our farmers, if we sell 1 hectare, and they will be able to buy at least 200 hectares in New Zealand. So this is the thing we face now. And the third I would like to share with you is our land, agricultural land tax system. Because, to be related to our theme today is about the tax system. So agricultural land tax in Taiwan is a zero tax, which means if you use agricultural land for agricultural purpose, you don't pay property tax, don't pay any real estate tax, and also no capital gain tax. I think this is the reason, one of the reasons why the agricultural land price is so high. So lastly, I will emphasize the part that, for the agriculture farming efficiency, in the last 30 years, of course, Taiwanese government tried to increase the farm size, and we know that some of the land-based agriculture, the scale must be increased. However, due to a lot of reasons, the average farm size in the last 50 years is almost the same. In 1950s, it's 1 hectare. Until today, again, it's still only 1 hectare. So this is the background. So lastly, I'll say I'm also alumni to this center because I've been teaching in this center for more than 20 years. And the land's still there, but I'm aging fast. So some of our alumni here probably, you don't recognize me anymore. But I believe some of you has been in the class, for last 20 years. So before further ado, I think I will go to, our discussion session proper. And we have 2 discussants. And these 2 are my good friends for many years. And actually 2 days ago, we enjoyed 6 hours together, right? From afternoons 6 o'clock until midnight. We are together, enjoy hot spring, and for the more than 10 years, we always talk about agricultural land policy. Actually, in the center, they asked me to give the lecture. Always is agricultural land policy in Taiwan. So I would like to, first one, probably Professor Jim Riddell, you will go first, okay? So let's welcome Jim Riddell.
Is this working? Okay, good. Okay, thank you very much, Lin Guo-Chin. It's always a great pleasure to be able to discuss agricultural change, etc. I think the 2 papers today are very important indication, but also I would suggest we take it in context from a similar forum we held about 10 years ago, and that is Dr. Lin Guo-Chin's chapter in the book that we produced with Lincoln Institute. And we get an idea of the dynamics of the changing land policy in Taiwan. And then I'd like to think of this in terms of what we know of what's happening in the rest of the world. But we need to take, I think, Dr. Lin Guo-Chin's paper into context also. Okay, the papers, our 2 papers today, really highlight the fact that there is no solution. We see repeated attempts to come up with a new policy. There's no final answer because the situation is too dynamic. As soon as we make a policy choice, we find that creates impediments into the future. And so that creates a problem. And then we need a new policy to somehow overcome the unanticipated consequences of the previous policy. And so we are continually searching. And as Dr. Wang and his colleagues' paper, we have had 38 major agricultural, rural economy, and rural land policy development acts, etc., promulgated during the time that we're celebrating the 50 years of the Institute. And as the paper documents, the rate of policy development, in fact, is accelerating. During the Great Land Reform period, we only needed 5 major policy and legal promulgations. Since the turn of the century, we've needed 18. That means we're producing more than 1 a year. This reflects the dynamic changes that have taken place. As Professor Liu points out in her paper, this is due to the fact that we've had a major change. The rural area is no longer the engine of growth. The development of Taiwan came out of the dynamic growth that took place in the agricultural sector following the land reform. This has now shifted to the post-industrial urban sector. And this is true not just in Taiwan, it's true in every country represented here, as well as my own. And we need, it seems we need to find a new paradigm. How do we get out of the intellectual rut where we're always working on a new agrarian policy or a new rural development policy? And I think the problem is that we have separated our energies. We have specialists in urban land, and then we have specialists in rural land, as though they're separated. We have urban tax policy and rural tax policy. I think it's time we need to think of a new intellectual model in which we recognize that the two sectors cannot exist independent of each other. The way we're doing it now creates a constant win-lose situation in which the rural sector always loses, and because we have so many pressing problems where the majority of our population now lives in cities. I think that it's time that we seriously consider would we develop a model in which the ecological services of our rural areas are properly priced. Cities cannot produce the clean air they need to breathe. Cities cannot produce the clean water they need to drink and bathe. Cities cannot produce the clean food they need for a healthy life, nor can they produce the raw resources we need for our industries. These come from the rural sector. Isn't it time that we think how we institutionally would bring urban and rural population together into the debate of what is going to be our common future and how are we going to price it? How are we going to pay the fair cost that clean air, clean water, clean food really cost us to produce? So a paradigm shift. And I think we could see some ways we can go about this by looking more or less globally. How do we produce the proper investments and the attractiveness of the human resources we need to make rural communities more vital? Not just farming. And that comes back to Professor Lin's chapter 10 years ago. And that is, we know now that agricultural families and agricultural enterprises cannot exist without off-farm income streams. The day of the full-time farmer have been gone for a generation or so. And yet our policies are always in terms of how do we increase agricultural viability, rather than saying how do we bring more income streams into the rural sector. So if we take a look at a couple countries that have also addressed this, I think we can get some indications of where our investments maybe need to be made and where we can start in discussing a new a new paradigm. And this would be, say, countries like Finland and New Zealand. One of the problems is that when we ask our bright people, our bright university graduates, why wouldn't you start your business in a rural community rather than starting it in Taipei again, or in Helsinki again, or in Wellington? Well, I don't want my children to be stuck in poor education. How will they ever succeed if they go to a country school? Finland, which has one of the best the enviable education systems of the world, pays teachers considerably more if they will transfer to a rural community. So we make the price incentive. If we want good education in rural communities, we have to pay for it. We get our best teachers and we pay them more. This makes it attractive for us to move there so our children can breathe fresh air, have fresh water and fresh food, and also good education. Communication is another big, big problem. None of us want to be isolated. How do we remove the feeling of isolation by, say, somebody trying to have me move my software company or my architectural firm to a rural community where I can get access to land? But I'm not going to go there if I don't have good communications. New Zealand and Finland made an early decision to see that all the rural communities have access to the same kinds of communication facilities that exist in Helsinki or in Wellington. So I don't suffer by leaving the urban centers. And the last one is the infrastructure investment in making it possible for small to medium-sized enterprises of a high-tech nature to have access to the energy, roads, etc. necessary to think about moving to a place where they can have, combined with other similar types of small to medium enterprises to make an area attractive to, again, our best and brightest. So this also fits with the other problem we share in all of our countries, and that is our university graduates, professionals, are being priced out of the housing market, being priced out of the amenities they seek and the kind of life they want to live because there's just not available for them in the cities unless at the prices or at the wages we're willing to give. So how would we make this appealing for these people to look to moving their ideas and their innovations into a more rural area? And that is then thinking of how we would have ecological services also as a business model. Not just as a desirable thing to feel good, but with adequate pricing, how do we make this into a business? So I think if we can find the innovations needed to create a viable eco-services business model that attracts our best and brightest minds, such a land reform will be certainly an even more exciting event when we hold this celebration 50 years from now. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jim. A wonderful suggestion. And the next discussion is also my good friend, Dr. Rainer Adam. And he got his PhD from Bonn University. And currently he's a regional director of Friedrich Naumann Foundation for Freedom in East Europe, in Bulgaria, right? And so please give also welcome him with a warm applause.
Yeah, thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to thank the center for inviting me to be involved in this symposium and to be a discussant in this first session where we commemorate the 50th anniversary of the center. I'm deeply honored and I'm very proud that I've been associated with the center for many, many years. Since 2003, I come every year to teach a class on governance issues, good governance in land administration, to the agriculture class. But my association with Taiwan is longer than those 16 years, because I had the great fortune to be involved in a joint German-Taiwanese research program from the early 1980s, actually pretty close to the second stage land reform when it started. And I was here in 1983-84 to do my field research. And in fact, the center kindly hosted me for 3 months, put me up without charge, without cost to me, as a poor PhD student to work and to prepare my field research. And my very good friend, Professor Yen Aichin, was a partner in crime at that time when we got to know each other and set out to learn more about land and land policies here in Taiwan. I had a great pleasure reading the 2 drafts of the papers because my professional work took me, of course, away from Taiwan, and I could not follow the further developments after basically the beginning of the second stage land reform in 1982. But I've been pretty much part of it in a way, because in 1986 and 87, the research results of our joint research were presented to CEO, the Council of Agriculture, and to Taiwanese decision makers. And we advocated a policy to move away from the old paradigm of owner-operator farming and to encourage land to be more mobile, so that land could move to the best tiller, basically, regardless of property rights, and encouraged long-term lease programs as we had them in Germany, for instance, nine years lease programs. And when I read the paper, then I could realize that, oh, it took a little while from 86 to about 2000 when the amendment of the Agriculture Development Act was promulgated, and then it took a little while longer, 2009, until finally, let's say, a policy which was already advocated in the mid-80s would find a fertile ground. We've seen the figures regarding this policy and the successes in increasing farm operation from 1 to 8 hectares or 9 hectares. But if you look at the overall figure, of course, in comparison to the total, is still modest, one could say. Yeah, so this is the first point I would like to make, and I would follow it up with the fact that this shows how sticky, let's say, or how dominant certain norms and concepts are in the mind of decision makers, maybe more so than in the mind of farmers. Because when we went out to the field in the 80s, farmers were all very shy to say that actually they were not operating the land they were owning, because they were all afraid that it would be taken away from them because they basically violated the norm. The dominant norm was the tiller operator. And so one found a lot of new terms to camouflage, let's say, this new reality. One of them was Weitor Jinyin, Weitor Daigeng, you know, so entrusted farming, different types of management. But I mean, it was nothing than land lease, and one could identify it clearly as such. So I'm very grateful that I had a chance to read those 2 papers and could follow what has happened in the 90s and 2000. As a German, of course, I was also very pleased to read just in the second line of the paper of Professor Leo, when you refer to one of my countrymen, you know, John Heinrich von Thünen, and the Thünen rings I was treated with as a student. So I was very happy to see this and his works on the isolated state, and when Thünen developed the basic concept and the theory of marginal productivity. My second point is that both papers show the complexity of land policy development in a rapidly industrializing modern island society. The papers document, as I said, the stickiness of ideals, norms, and approaches to land by the government of Taiwan. And that's not surprising because we human beings, we don't want to deviate from a path who has shown in the past to be highly successful. And the first land reform was deemed to be highly successful, and you showed it, Professor Wang, very nicely with the smileys. The first land reform phase was the smiley, was the face up. The second one was face down, and the third one was face up again, and smiling all together. So it's difficult to shift from a successful approach to something unknown. The amendment of the Agriculture Development Act in 2000 finally broke with this old dominant norm of the first land reform. When we suggested this in the 80s, was just too early. And we knew it because we saw our Taiwanese colleagues walking out of the room that they were not pleased with our results at the time. Particularly the adoption of the farmland for agricultural usage norm and the retirement of the old farmland owned by farmers principle, which was the base for the second land reform, then has been accomplished basically through concrete programs in 2009. Thereby, the idealized owner-occupier, operator idea was replaced by a more dynamic principle which allowed land to move to the best farmer entrepreneur, to move resources to the most efficient operator. But we have also heard, and Jim has commented on this is not sufficient, as we can learn again, and when we are overtaken by developments. It took another 9 years, as I said, to come to concrete programs, the small landlord, big tenant program, and I mentioned that I hope that this is continuing. In 1986, let's say, our ideas were just not taking into consideration, let's say, the historical experience properly of the Taiwanese and the Taiwanese government. However, let's say, there's another point I would like to make is that the Taiwanese people and the Taiwanese farmers, of course, they need to make a living, and they had, despite, let's say, this successful land policy, to find a way how to earn income and to subside, to subsist on the resources they had. And so they were very, let's say, creative in finding ways how to circumvent the norms and move the boundary little by little, and in the end, the facts prove them right. But it shows how unresponsive certain policies can be towards the needs of the ones who actually would be the beneficiary of those norms and the ones who need, let's say, this change. Jim mentioned the dynamics and the plentifulness of policies. He put the figures down, and maybe here less would be more. Maybe we should formulate less norms, less rules, then there would be less norms to police, less norms to enforce. And this is my last point. I believe that the capacity of any government is limited, and to enforce rules which they are unwilling or unable to enforce leads to other distortions or issues of justice or fairness and equality. Because to the ones who don't enforce the rules, like, let's say, those illegal factories operating, that's maybe a benefit, or it may be also a benefit for the community. However, for the ones who play by the rules and follow them, it is, of course, grossly unjust. And it erodes, let's say, maybe the very fabric of a society if we have rules which are observed by some and not by others, and they are not observed by, and there's impunity for them. So the price may be heavy for the non-implementation of rules which show or represent then also different interests. And we can see that the interests of a central government and a local government have not been properly dealt with because 130,000 factories illegal on land where they should not be, that is quite something, despite, let's say, of course, the factors which we understand why this is so. So here there are two options. You go on an enforcement option just because the rules are there, but this is also not satisfying because you have to consider that it brings benefits to the localities. Maybe decision-making processes should change so that more power of decision-making as to land conversion is vested with a lower level of government. But this, of course, requires trust, and one has also to see, of course, the condition of Taiwan, where there is the central government, the provincial government, and, let's say, local governments all crammed on one small island. A last point, which may also be reflected in this non-observance of rules, is that maybe the approaches in the formulation of the policy were not participatory enough. And I'm not talking about all, let's say, people, let's say, in the rural areas. However, crucial target groups and stakeholders may have not been consulted properly in the process. This would be something which could be easily rectified in the future to be more inclusive, more balanced, and come to policies which in the end benefit, let's say, the intended beneficiaries actually, and so that they can themselves decide on how they would like to lead their lives, to become an evening farmer, a weekend farmer, or whatever type of farmer, but not the farmer we have idealized in our notion of the full-time man who is toiling on the field from morning to night, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So here I have, of course, great hopes because the times are not standing still. However, the target, let's say, of 780,000 hectares of paddy land, which should be preserved, I assume will not be kept. Professor Lin, you mentioned the extreme pressure on land, and you put the figures out there. Every landowner here of agriculture land is maybe not a farmer. He is maybe the owner of agriculture land and a potential millionaire. And if he has this in mind as his future vision, nothing can deter him from anything else. So here, most likely, new ways have to be found to convert land to non-agricultural use, which would maybe ease the pressure and give a future for the urban young who have great difficulties in having access to housing. Maybe the decline, let's say, of population overall will bring some relief, but that will be in the distant future. So I believe that here some serious thought would be warranted. I thank you very much for your attention. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Adam. I think two discussants made a very good observations and analysis of the problem we face in Taiwan. Of course, I think any land reform in any country are very difficult. So, like just Adam just mentioned, actually the discuss for reform actually is started 30 or 40 years ago, including the land to the tiller. You know, this actually started, analyze and out of suggestions that this policy should be revised. However, it's only until year 2000 this policy has been revised. But create other problems, because now after 2000, Professor Lin, I can buy agricultural land. Before year 2000, I cannot buy agricultural land in Taiwan. So what happened is, before year 2000, actually is farmers, they can build a farmhouse. Not say after year 2000. Before year 2000, they can build. But however, at those time, before year 2000, there's no limitation of the lot size. Okay, they can build, on their agricultural land. But after year 2000, it's more restricted. the lot size has to be higher than 0.25 hectares. But however, the problem is now everybody can buy agricultural land. So in the year 2000, the act said only farmers can build farmhouses on their farmland. Not everybody. Everybody can buy, but not everybody can build. But what happened is after year 2000 until today, this law has not been enforced properly. And then this become very loosely to explain who are the farmers. So if you interpret the way who bought agricultural land, then they immediately become farmers. Then it means everybody who buy agricultural land, they can build their farmhouse on the agricultural land. So this become a serious problem after year 2000. So second part, I think you suggest that whether you should put more rules or regulations, or should you relax. I agree that if you just impose more rule and regulation, but you have no governance efficiency, then create more problem for unfairness, which means somebody can break the law, but they don't have to pay the penalty, just like what happened to the so many illegal use agricultural land for factories. Yes. And we say if you borrow $1, you don't return to the bank, that's your problem. You borrow 1 million, your problem. But if you borrow 1 billion, if you cannot return to the bank, it's become whose problem? It's the bank's problem. So what happened is, what we see today is so many farmhouses on agricultural land and so many illegal use of agricultural land for factory. Then this becomes government and our problems. Of course, we have to find some way to tackle this problem. So one is through planning, convert more agricultural land to non-agricultural uses. However, I think this part have to be, a good arrangement for fairness. So anyway, so I'm come to the next stage. I will let two of you, if you have the response. If you don't, I think you will say a few words. Then I will just go to the floor. Anyone, you can just air your opinion, or you can ask questions to them. Yes? Anyone? Two of you? Okay, to audience. Anyone? You raise your hand. Yes, please.
Is that on? No? Sounds okay. You sure? Okay. Well, so I'm really curious about the price of agricultural land, because if Taiwan has the most expensive agricultural land in the world, is it merely an artifact of the weak enforcement of your own zoning laws, or is there something else going on? Because I don't think it really has to do with whether agricultural land is taxed or not. And so my question is, has anybody looked to see how many people who own farmhouses actually do farming? Because in the United States, we have this problem where people call themselves farmers, they buy agricultural land, they buy one goat, and they build a big mansion. They call themselves farmers, and they pay the agricultural tax on their land. But in many cases, for some reason, the value isn't capitalized into the land remains relatively cheap. So, but somehow in Taiwan, the land value has now gone up, and I think has it simply gone up because of weak enforcement? And if you actually did more enforcement, would the land prices on agricultural land fall?
I think what I would like to do is to get more questions today or ask them to respond together. So it's fine, just one to not one to one, but I will let other people. Anyone want to just raise your hand? If not, then I will just ask them to respond. Four of you, anyone can respond to his question. If no one, then I respond. Okay, you have a microphone over there.
I think in Taiwan right now, we have about 28,000 the farmhouse in Taiwan right now. And as I mentioned on the presentation, only about 36% belong owned by the farmers. So you can see that one. Because we have the farmhouse, but before the year 2000, they can get the agricultural land. They do not have this limitation for the 0.25 hectare. So we call this is the old farmer. The old farmer, they can build a farmhouse and sell to the others. Then they can use the agricultural land to build another farmhouse, and then resell again. So that's the reason why I said 66% of farmhouse, the lot size is less than the 0.25 hectare. Okay. Even in the year 2000, our regulation said that the minimum lot size should be the 0.25 hectare. But if you have owned agricultural land before the year 2000, you do not have this kind of limitation. So that's the reason why we have this kind of problem. Okay.
But if they enforce the actual zoning, would that happen?
Okay. The zoning, because we allowed they can build the farmhouse. Okay. So, but after year 2000, we have this kind of regulation. Okay.
Okay, I just add some information to it. Actually, firstly is a zero taxation, okay, for agricultural land. So second is when you build a farmhouse, build a house actually not, although it's called farmhouse, actually it's a house. And build a house on agricultural land, and that is still considered agricultural land. It's not the real estate. They don't pay real estate property tax at all. And we think, of course, it's a serious problem, and we recommend for policy changes. And also, it's been discussion that, once houses have been built, when you sell agricultural land, then only farmers can buy this piece of agricultural land because it's already have a farmhouse there. But if you are not a farmer, of course you cannot buy. But however, this is not being enforced. But anyway, I think that sooner or later, this has to be changed. Otherwise, I think the whole agriculture, non-urban area is getting to be more problem, including the agricultural land prices are very high. So, and you talk about the land control. Yes, we have a zoning system for non-urban area. So that's why she called it the prime agriculture area and also the general agriculture area. And so we have a zoning system. But the zoning system is, allowed to build house on there. I think it's different from your way of, thinking and, and ideas. I think they have already shown me. We have only 3 minutes left, so I just, give this to two of you. You have anything? Otherwise, I just give the floor to. Yeah. Okay. So last question. Anyone? No? Oh yes, please.
Okay, I'm working for the Department of Finance in Taipei City Government. And first of all, I just wanted to say I'm your student because 10 years ago, I once studied in ICO PST and of course, including Riddell and Adam. And Professor Liu, you're my teacher about 25 years ago. Okay. And because I'm working for the Department of Finance, so I would like to answer Makasi. Okay. Of course, that if the land for agricultural use, then there's no tax. But it being converted to non-agricultural use, such as a house, that a farmhouse, as Dr. Lin Guoqing said, then we were taxed for land tax. It's a policy that, so our people who work for the Revenue Service Department under Department of Finance of Taipei City Government want to lay job to evaluate, to investigate that whether those kind of land being converted to non-agricultural land use. And second, I want to supplement is that because we talked about the land price. So I learned the information from the website that because Professor Wang mentioned about that the average size of agricultural land in Taiwan is approximately 1 hectare, and the price is about 30 million New Taiwan dollar, which means 1 million USD, which is 12 times higher than Japan, and maybe 300 times than United States. That is because they expect that if I buy the agricultural land, I could build a farmhouse to live and could transfer to maybe some restaurant for business. So this is the reason. So I suggest that we still have to rethink about the policy, that whether we need to give the zero land tax to agricultural land anymore, or we have to, otherwise we have to implement, which I mentioned about investigate if we found you are not agricultural purpose anymore, then we need to have land tax. Okay, thank you.
This agricultural land has been converted illegally for non-agricultural use, then this will be, assessed and they pay the property tax. But however, if it's a legal use, then there's no tax. I think that he just emphasized. For example, illegal conversion agricultural land for factory, then this will be reassessed. But however, if it's stay, in agriculture use, it's still zero tax. Okay, the final words, I think, Jim or Adam, you added some final words on this, and I'll close this session.
Okay, good. I just kind of on this last point and with the one that Reiner made, if we have several thousand illegal small industrial invasion of rural space, doesn't this indicate, in fact, that if there's no outrage in the local community, this is seen as something desirable? Now we have jobs for our children. Now we have something to do in this community. So couldn't we think about this as a way of encouraging this kind of thing, but with green industry, making sure that these operations operate in a sound environmental way? I'm reminded in Sweden for years tried to preserve agricultural land. And then they came to the conclusion there was no way they could produce the food they needed in Sweden at a cost-effective or cost-competitive way. So what did they do? They shifted then to encouraging a variety of land uses. This did several things. One, it increased dramatically the biodiversity of the Swedish countryside, but it also created a new rural industry of producing very, what would you call it, very selective products for the high-end urban market. And so now you see so many of our innovative, quote, restaurants are in Scandinavia, serving foods that have been recaptured from much earlier periods of unique, fresh varieties of things that had been forgotten as part of the diet. And as Lin Guo-Chin has argued in other papers, the biodiversity of Taiwan agriculture has gone from thousands of species down to just a few varieties that we produce today.
Maybe on a personal note, I learned also in the paper that I'm much too old. I'm 63 and the farmers are 60 old and are so old. But I did 25 years ago, buy a piece of land in Australia, and I'm a hobby farmer, you can say. Am I less worth than the full-time farmer or the one who takes his living out of? I would say no. And my daughters, they grew up there partially, and now one is studying agriculture, animal production, and the other one is becoming a viticulturist because we planted a vineyard on this land. So giving some impetus to youth and young farmers, hopefully, in the future. So I believe that, let's say, a certain amount of freedom doesn't harm, so that people can move in and out. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, because there's been showing me time's up for at least 5 minutes already. So I think all these kind of suggestions are very good, and the Taiwanese government are moving toward that direction, and to solve this kind of illegal use of agricultural land for factories. But however, how to do it efficiently and fairly, I think this is a big challenge. Okay, with that, and thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to our moderator, our presenters, and our discussant. Actually, it means time for lunch, okay? Time for lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your badge on, and then please, it's buffet style. You have to get the food yourself. Now, for our Muslim friends, if the food is marked with a red flag, it means it's got pork in it. So it's a no-no, okay? If you're halal food for Muslim friends, if you find one of the dish has got a red marking, red flag, it means it has pork in it, okay? That's a no-no. Thank you. And we reconvene at 1 p.m. So we have only 50 minutes for lunch, okay? We reconvene exactly at 1 p.m. And when you get the food, come back here to eat. Come back to your own table to eat. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have a memo pad. If you get the food, you find that one of the desks has a memo pad. Thank you. But I would still have to introduce our moderator. Just stand and wave your hand, and our presenters and our discussant. Ladies and gentlemen, for our afternoon session, our moderator would be Professor Dr. Lin Jianyuan. Dr. Lin Jianyuan, he was the former Taipei City Deputy Mayor. And Professor Lin is also the former Taipei City Commissioner of Finance Bureau. So once again, our applause for our moderator. Thank you. Our presenter is Professor Jin Jiahe. Please welcome Professor Jin. And another presenter would be Professor Chen Jianyuan. Please welcome Professor Chen. Thank you for coming. Another presenter would be Professor Zhen Anting. Professor Zhen, thank you. And our discussant is our one and only, our very own Dr. George McCarthy. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Okay, so moving on, while we are enjoying our lunch, please welcome our presenter, Professor Jin Jiahe. Professor Jin, please. Thank you. Professor Jin's paper 3 is on urban planning system and zoning system. Professor Jin, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank you, this center, to give me this opportunity to attend this forum. And I would like to present my paper this afternoon, and it is my pleasure to stand here and talking about Taiwan's urban planning and the zoning system. Today, I want to present some kind of situation happened in the past 50 years in Taiwan. My outline include a very briefly introduction about the urbanization and the interiorization of the past 50 years happened in Taiwan. And then I will talking about the urban system and the planning and the land use zoning system in Taiwan. And then I will very brief review about the major change over the past 50 years. And then I will spend a little bit time talking about the difficulties and the dilemmas in planning happened in the past, especially in the current situation. Then I would like to talking about some possibilities in the near future and give some lesson or experience, even to Taiwan or for the other countries. The first one, we're talking about the urbanization and the interiorization. This figure is very briefly talking about from 1950 to 2010, the percentage of people who live in the city from the 23% to 78% of the people of Taiwan who live in the city. And the other column is people, the percentage of people working in the non-agricultural sector. In the 1950, they also more than half of the Taiwanese working in the agriculture sector, but tier 2, 2010, only 7% of the people working in the agriculture sector. We know the situation of the industrialization very briefly. We can know that. Then this figure is not very clear, but you can see the yellow side is totally city, and the dark side, the more dark of the green is the more high percentage of the urbanization of people who live in the urban area. Only in the slide in color, there are a large population who live in those areas. And then we can very brief understand the Taiwan's urban planning and the land use system. In memory, we discussing about the planning. We divide into two systems. One is major planning. The other one is detailed planning. The major planning, especially in the city, in a large city, we must doing the master plan first. After the master plan being confirmed, we then doing the planning about the detailed planning. This situation, this system, we confirm the structure of the city first, and then we doing more detail about the planning of the land, urban land can be developed in the further. And usually we can doing the master planning in the whole system and use the structures view to see the city's future development, and then according to the master plan's division into several, maybe 4 or 5 areas to doing the detailed plan. And after the detailed plan being confirmed by the government, then we're doing the land use zoning system. This happened in Taiwan from the past to till now. The major change we can say the planning act have been amended about 9 times from the 1960 to 2050. Total is 9 times. But for the presentation, because we have a very limit of the presentation times, so I just use the major change to describe the considering about the planning changing. The first one is 1964, because we are urban plan and in the Republic of China is at that time the first time to issue this act is in China. After the Second World War II, the ROC government take over the Taiwan province, but at that time we still use the planning system in Japan colony stage. Till 1964, we started building or modernized the urban planning art. And here, between 1988, they have several times of planning had been revised, but I just skipped the details of this amending. But the 1988 art amending memory approach the deadline of the land being expropriated for public facilities, because before that time government promised the landowner government will take their land within 10 years old. But after that, because of the government financial problem, then amending the law again, lasted the deadline to another 50 years. But the 1988, the 25 years deadline come to again. So the government just abolished the deadline. So this is a very, very big issue at that time. After that, the government want to stop the issue of the land being expropriation. So he asked all the government and undertake their urban planning development project must undertake comprehensive development. Till to 1994, the planning system added another element to consider the protection of the environment. So at that time, the law asked all the development project must indicate the environment impact analysis assessment. 2050, the art amended again. They add the elderly person. They need some kind of elderly care and housing to take care of all those elderly person. So the law added this kind of facility can be added into the social welfare facility. That means the government can take the private land to build the elderly care center and the house for the elderly. So that's the main change for the Taiwan's planning system. But the changes faced, this can be said, they have a difficult, so the change. And also, after the change, find another difficult. So we can talking about the difficulties or dilemmas facing Taiwan's planning system, they have some issue can be talking about. The first one is local government financial is very, very difficult at that time. And most of the people being taken over by the central government, and the central government want to spend a lot of money in the defense sectors. So local government, because of how they have a financial problem, so they cannot take over all the land expropriate for the public facility. The other issue is the inequality issue, because the urban land, because after the planning and using the loaning system, some kind of them can be built for high density to residential usage or commercial usage. They can be catch the high value from the market, but the land reserved for the private facility, they just waiting government pay their compensation, and the waiting is more than 20 years or 25 years, or even after that, the government abolished the deadline. The third issue is not in my backyard issues. Thank you. They still have some kind of nuisance facilities that doesn't like by the neighbor or neighborhood. Also, they against the government to build those nuisance facility near their house or in their neighborhood. The issue still is a problem in the many urban government. The four dilemmas is the new town development. The new town development memory is the major problem is the communication and transportation problem. Because new town, we have a 3-generation new town. The first one is in the middle of Taiwan. That's called Zhongxin Xinchun. At that time, the central government they worry about being bombed by Chinese Air Force, so they just need to build the second commander center. If the Taipei being bombed, they can open their second commander center in the central part of Taiwan. So they built a new town in the central part of Taiwan. The first time Taiwan built a new town, but we can say it is very successful at that time because the government put a lot of resources into this one. The second generation new town and the third generation new town, it doesn't success from now, the viewpoint from now. It's not very success because they are building near 20 to 23 kilometers from the city center, but the transportation doesn't arrive there. The communication not very good. So the industry doesn't want to go there because they cannot find the worker nearby. And the worker, because they cannot find a job in the new town, so they doesn't want to move in there. So that's a negative cycle at that time. The possible change in the near future, the population is changing, or they have a populist, pragmatic, and public participation, and they also face, many cities face the climate change, and maybe they must doing some strategy for the disaster presentation. And also we face the economic restructuring, especially many cities, industry estate have been vacancy because the industry have moved to another place. And finally, the public facility face near to review because when the urban planning maybe 25 years ago or more than that years ago, and the public facility is considered at that time because right now we face the environment problem and face the population changing and face the industry moving out the cities. So they need to some kind of review. Because of the time of the presentation is very limited, so I just give a small cities review and only consider the population change. So I just give a very, very example to talking about this. This is a city boundary with the dark line there. And the purple area is the size for the school. See, the school, three sides, they have a tone there. The school haven't been constructed there, but the planning reserved those sites to the future school number being expanded. They can build the city. But after 20 years or 30 years, the population have been changing, not necessary to build those schools. So what we do, we consider the trend of number of students have been reduced and the need to the new junior high school and the high school being constructed. It doesn't much near to build a new school. Then the city have another public facilities need. So we just skip the process. The final decision is we stop the construction one of the school and change it to another facility use and another urban using area. This is the final decision. On the yellow side, we change it the school to the residential use, and the green side is the park, and public park there, and the orange side is multi-use public facilities. The downstairs use the market area, and the second floor is the library, and the third floor and the upper using the house and housing for the elderly person. So that is the example to talking about these things. And finally, recommendation, we can have a planning development should close the integrator with the financial planning, and you must have a equity issue keep in mind, and then because the equity issue, so we need to keep the comprehensive urban development instrument to be used. So then after that, we have Professor Chen talking about urban land adjustment. And then we can have issue about eco-cities development strategy and the principle. And fortunately, Taiwan's government have stopped doing these things. So they have asked all those planning must review their past planning and consider about the strategy and the planning principle about the eco-cities development. And then facing the not in my backyard issues. And for the rest of our world, we can talking about if your country still have a low price in the land and very weak in the public participation. My recommendation is we should doing the planning more rationally, more as soon as possible. After that, one day you can face about more stronger public participation or most higher in land price. You can face very difficult in doing all those urban development, especially in the public facilities. And the planning should be considered with the financial plan, and Taiwan's planning use and the land use long-range system can be learned by another country. So that is my presentation, and thank you very much, everybody, to listen.
And we thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Jin. Urban planning system and zoning system. Thank you very much. As Professor Jin mentioned, our next presenter is Professor Chen. Please welcome Professor Chen Jianyuan for the next presentation. Paper 4, the role of urban land readjustment institution in urban development and its challenges. Professor Chen.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to come over here to introduce the urban land readjustment applied in Taiwan. So this is my presentation. So overall, my presentation, of course, I will introduce the general conception and application of urban land readjustment. Of course, then I will go back to review Taiwan has adopted probably many decades, and we will have the conclusion about the good result and the bad result, the sunny side and the bad side over maybe 50 years. And then we will conclude some lessons and provide some lessons maybe is quite valuable for other countries. And of course, I will introduce some quite fatal challenge in Taiwan. So the first is the general concept of the urban readjustment actually just adopted in many countries. Of course, we have to apply the readjustment, follow the urban planning. Of course, we have to apply in a certain scope of urban areas. We cannot apply the urban land readjustment just based on the mayor, their interest. So we follow the urban planning, and then we just do the readjustment plan, which will follow resemble parcel of lands. And of course, we have to readjust to find the popular land for doing the public facility. Of course, this without the government the budget. And then we return the land to the landowners. And then, of course, the model is based on assumption. Land value will increase and will cover all costs and without the government budget. That's the quite perfect model, it looks like. And then that's the urban land readjustment operational process. This is the process applied in Taiwan. So you can see the first step, of course, we just will select readjustment areas. And then the step 2, step 3, probably we are doing dropping the plan. Dropping the plan, the areas, and we will then doing the measurement, survey, and then of course very important is the investigation for land value assessments. And then of course we will calculation the loss and distribution. And then we're doing the project, doing the construction process. And then, of course, the final arranging the cadastral data. And then we exchange the land to return the land to the landowners. That's the general operational process. And this is the process applied in Taiwan. And then, so the general process. And of course, this model also supported by government for sure, because it does not need the government budget. And of course, this apply the land readjustment, we will receive fewer the tensions of opposition, just like the eminent domain from landowners. And some economics also support the land readjustment because it demonstrates the local public goods, just like the club goods, not like the pure, the Samuelson say, the public goods. So the local public goods will arrange the benefit through the distance. So actually just have a benefit in a specific space. So the land readjustment is better than just like the expropriation. You know, just the government has to afford more responsibilities. And of course, the sociologists also like the support, the land readjustment, because it's a voluntary, spontaneous, the landowners, they can cooperate together. If we can get a 100% agreement, of course, that will be a perfect, the social, the function, the work together, and just demonstrate how harmony society is to the mutual, the work together. So, and of course, that will model especially quite welcome, especially after the World War II. Lots of countries need the recovery from the war disaster, and they don't have quite enough the budget power. So that's the reason that many countries, so you can see lots of countries in the globe, they also have the land readjustment. Of course, the different names, just like land assembling, land pouring. We have the very old commerce, just like, especially in Europe, just like the Netherlands or Spain, of course, and Germany. And in the East Asia, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan, we apply the land readjustment quite a long time. We also have some newcomer, especially in the Latin America, Argentina, and also the very quite newcomer, Afghanistan, also apply the land readjustment, quite follow out of fashion. So just this can see the urban land readjustments throughout the world, quite popular. So we have the short conclusion. The land readjustment requires some 4 key institutional factors. It's good for the land readjustment to apply. One is the country must support the private property right regime. If you don't support the private property right regime, of course, it's just like in China, then you can do the more coercively doing the eminent domain or compulsory purchasing, whatever. And the second factor is you got to have the formal legislation system to support to do the land readjustment. So because we still have some conflicts from the landowners. And quite important is that we have to foster the trust relation among the landowners. And also we have to keep and try to have the acceptable ratio between the land's participant and the land returning to the owners. That's the 4 key factors. So that's the general conception, and quite important why so many countries welcome the land readjustment system. And they said, therefore, we back to the history. Why Taiwan needs the urban land readjustment? When we back to the history, we can see during the 1950s, I think everyone, quite lots of people here understand we have a quite successful land reform. So we have we increase lots of farmers' incomes. And during the 1960s, because the military tensions across the Taiwan Strait much eased, that means the government don't need to spend so many monies, and they were more focused on economic development. And for sure, during the 1960s to 1980s, Taiwan just experienced very successful economic miracles. And of course, we are just lots of the people just from countryside influx to the urban, and we have lots of the population just going to the urban. And of course, at that time, during the 1980s, we need a modern urban planning system. So we require the United Nations to help Taiwan. During 1966 to 1971, the United Nations sent the American professional planners to help Taiwan to build the urban planning. Of course, they will use the traditional way, the blueprint, the comprehensive plan, and the government take the most responsibility and they have to buy all the necessary the public lands. But Taiwan government at that time, it didn't have such kind of the financial power. So we just have left so many the reserving land for public land even today. So it's that time that during the 1960s and 80s, we need an alternative way to get the popular lands. And that's the reason why the urban land readjustment just emerged and a desperate need for Taiwan during that time. So during the 1960s, and we have some quite very important milestone, the institutional milestone in our urban land readjustment. First, the milestone is in 1958, we create quite objective, quite acceptable appraisal methods, and just between the trend of ratio, between the land value before and after. And property will apply in Kaohsiung quite successfully. And the second milestone is in 1964. The threshold of landowners, we just lower the threshold, the agreement lower from 2/3 to half. That is quite speed up the time the municipal government to apply the land readjustment. And another quite very important milestone is during the 1979. 1979, we opened the door to invite the private developer also can do the urban land readjustment in 1979. But at that time, the private developer, they cannot really apply because we require 100% the agreement from landowners. So until 1986, the government, they just changed, they adjust the regulation. They also lower the threshold from 100% to half. The huge, the decrease. And therefore, we just, after the 1980s, the Taiwan go to embrace the golden age of urban land readjustment. And you can see, so since the 1980s, there is the trend. So we can see the features from 1981 to the 2016, last year. So we can see almost right now we have applied the urban land readjustment, probably about 16,000 hectares. And you can very easy to calculate half of them, the 8,000, is for the government to get the land for free. So it's a huge, so it's this system really hugely help the government to get the public land for free. And they really help the urban development to get enough the public facilities. It's very important. You can see that, the features. And we also have the pictures. You can see that. I just have the one case. That case is the Xinyi plan. It's a Xinyi plan. You can see the left-hand side and the pictures. That is the cadastral map, left-hand side. You can see the area here is have a very left-hand side. You can see the not well organized the ownership structure, and we also have some very not well organized buildings. So you can see the right-hand side is the post the readjustment cadastral map. The block, the cadastral, the map is very well organized, and that's Xinyi, and that is the satellite pictures in 1975, and the right-hand side is right now the picture this year, and that's quite famous as everyone ever been there. Lots of the 101, and right now is the concentrated, lots of skyscrapers. And you can see the very famous skyscrapers, the 101, the land also get through from land readjustment. And also there, also located the Taipei municipal government. The land also get through from the land readjustment. So you can see the Taipei municipal government, through the Xinyi plan, they got a lot of revenue, and they were quite well developed. That's the case that the urban land readjustment really helped the Taiwan, the urban, especially the new urban district development. That's the only one case. Because I'm from Taichung, also lots of cases like this, the new urban expansion, all through the land readjustment. It's very few to see the urban, the new district development only rely on the municipal government. That's very few to see in Taiwan. So I think that's the finish. The sunny side. Right now I'm going to say about the dark side of the urban readjustment. You can see that Taiwan have got through so many urban land readjustment, but we also right now we see lots of side effects. One is because we have a lower, probably quite low the threshold of landowners throughout the world. So right now we can see lots of the association members using the information advantage to take advantage from the landowners. Of course, some members will purposely arrange quite lots of landowners into a small piece of land. They to require the necessary vote, the requirements. And of course, that will have more worse because after maybe 2000, the Taiwan really go to the democracy, the era. So right now, the urban land readjustment also be part of the local, the politics, the elections. So right now, actually, there is lots of terrible stories throughout the social medias. So you can see the pictures. You can see the left one is the one church also protest. They don't want to be included in the urban land readjustment. And also you can see they also beg the government to protect the God's land. So that's lots of protests throughout the world. That's the dark side of the Taiwan. So another dark side, of course, there's things will go worse because after 2005, Taiwan just have experienced the longest period of the booming real estate. And the long real estate, you can see a trend of lots of the developers go into the urban land readjustment. And you can see the orange, the column, is the private. And the green one is the public. You can see after the 2000, the private land readjustment is sometimes higher than the municipal government do. But the private one, they don't have such high credibility, just like the government. So, of course, there are more private urban land readjustment will create more conflicts. And on the other hand, we have a lower and lower the birth rate. So we have a high, or more and more the private urban land readjustment. So actually, you can see that's a lot of problems. So finally, in 2016, the Constitutional Court issued the number of the 739 experimentation court announced the low threshold actually violate the Taiwan's constitution and have to be changed. So that's the face of the problems. So we can see, so we have the conclusion is, yes, perhaps the 50 years urban land readjustment apply in Taiwan really help the Taiwan through the high rapid the development of urbanization. The low threshold design of the urban land readjustment really helped the Taiwan government to speed up provide the public land service. However, when society goes to more openness or even become more transparent through democracy, just like in Japan, that we have more and more conflicts. And of course, we have heard the trust relation among the landowners. And Taiwan may be just like the Korea. We have the long time periods of the booming real estate market. And right now, the land readjustment will become just like the equivalent, just like the land or real estate speculation. And many people just plan this kind of business should take the responsibility for high housing price. So I think if one day Taiwan, just like the Japan, we allow the real demanding, we have a low birth rate and aged population. If we don't have the land value increment, or our cities, urbans, going too strong, then probably we will not have any chance to apply land readjustment again. That's probably our very fundamental challenge to Taiwan's urban land readjustment. And this will become the biggest challenge for Taiwan urban readjustment to go to the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Professor Chen, thank you. So that was about urban land. Now let's talk about industrial land. The theme is Paper 5, Development of Industrial Land. Please welcome our presenter, Professor Chen Anting. Professor Chen, please. Our applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Industrial land.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Pardon. It is my greatest honor to join this big event. And after 4 presentations, I'm going to present some special issue about the development of industrial land in Taiwan. Why I say this very special issue? Because the development of industrial land in Taiwan actually conducted both in non-urban plan area and also urban plan area. And the non-urban plan area issues include the issues we have discussed this morning, agriculture, mainly coming from agricultural land. And the previous 2 speakers also mentioned some problems resulted from the urbanization that are issues from urban plan area. But industrial development actually in Taiwan can be conducted in both sides. So I was coming here to speak a story coming from a very complicated historical context, but I try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Professor McCarthy and also the moderator, Professor Lind, who both offer a very constructive recommendation and suggestions to this presentation. So I hope I can make this clear and to make everybody easy to follow. Okay, the overview of presentations can be divided into 5 parts. First of all, I will give a very brief introductions about the historical timeline after the Second World War, because all the problems coming from the industrial land actually resulting from the historical background. And secondly, I would like to give an introduction about how industrial land development happened over the last 70 years. And then, of course, like the issues in other presentations, we also face some challenges and impacts resulting from the urbanization. Then I'm going to talk about the institutional response. I think this is very important and also one of the purpose of today's event. And referring to Madame Catherine Lincoln this morning, we're looking for next 50 years. So what are we going to do today? Historical timeline after Second World War, even some scholars argue that the industrialization in Taiwan could trace back to Japanese colony occupation. However, today we only focus on what happened after Second World War because that was the time that Taiwan completed industrialization and also had a very good economic performance. So we can see a very important years around the 1950s. Don't forget, in 1949, we just started our land reform, and quickly government tried to put the resources getting from the rural area and the rural village to the industrial development. So the land reform actually can be the triangle to industrial development in Taiwan. And coming with another role, we can see that the US and the international aid actually played a big role. And in 1960s, we had an import substitution policy and then changed to export expansion. And on the 1965, we can see the urban planning law amendments in Taiwan also. And this was the first time the Taiwanese government introduced modern urban planning concept into urban plan area. In 1973, there's another actions about Regional Planning Act promulgated. Regional Planning Act actually monitoring the system, monitoring the land outside urban plan area. We call it non-urban plan area. And we can see the economic development is continuous in between the 1960 to 1970. And during these 20 years, Taiwan witnessed the fastest economic growth. We had an average 10% GDP growth and over 10 years. In 1990s, government started to think about to try to upgrade industries and try to transfer the industries from the light and the heavy industries to high technology industries. And there is another economic policies statute for industrial innovations in 2010. In 2016, we introduced another system, the Special Planning Act. Special Planning Act, and many scholars today is mentioning about the Special Planning Act. So we will give a little introduction about what Special Planning Act actually. Before we make the main point, I would like to remind that if we like to talk about economic development in Taiwan, we cannot ignore the features of Taiwanese economy. Some economists argue that Taiwan is an economic model. Taiwan is a very good case for economic model because Taiwan run development strategy very well. But what development state strategy? Actually, the feature of development state strategy means you have a very strong government, especially central government. And the central government hold the resources and can distribute the resources. And this government always use a very outstanding bureaucracy. The bureaucratic systems can work less and can implement policy. So under this strategy, Taiwan witnessed a steadily rapid industrialization. We finished all industrialization process in 30 years. This was amazing, actually, even in the other places in the world. And also during this time, the government selected strategic industry with selected location. So the locations decided by government, not by market. This is very important. And the industries also be selected by government concern. And during this time, the designated industrial park be developed by central government. That means designated industrial park just like the flagship of economic engine to promote economic development in Taiwan. And unfortunately, this time, the industrial land development not decided by special plan, but by economic plan. So some people argue that there is no role of land use policy during this time. No, my answer is no. Actually, land use policy does matter, but that time the land use policy just like a supporter to support economic development. So mainly main industrial development actually, to be honest, actually it depends on economic planning rather than the special plan. Land use plan still does matter because we know that no industry can develop it on the air. It must be on land. So what special land use system like? Indeed, it's very complicated system. In Taiwan, all the land can be divided into two systems. One is urban land, and also the main topic of this panel. Urban plan area means this land be planned by urban plan and is following urban plan. And also there is a land use zoning system. And it's divided into residential, commercial, industrial, and agricultural different zones in urban plan area. However, in non-urban plan area, it's categorized by land use order. And for example, if the land in non-urban areas for building lands, they included 4 classes, type A, type B, type C, and type D. Different class with different planning permission for land use. And today I'm going to talk about type D because type D is the only building land in non-urban areas permitted to industrial use. And we can see this map on the right button. We can see in the middle is urban plan area, and around is non-urban plan area. So both comprise the special land use system in Taiwan. So what about the industrial land supply system? It's another interesting story, but different from land use system divided into urban and non-urban. As I said, the government like to take the land for economic development. Doesn't matter if it is urban land or non-urban land. So this always decided by some economic professionals concerned. And you can see this is urban plan area and this is non-urban plan area, but the designated industrial parks across both sides. So you can find designated industrial park in urban plan area, and you can also find this in non-urban area. However, mainly still in non-urban area. And in urban plan area, there is another system called industrial zone. It's managed by local government instead of central government. So central government leave the space for local economic development in urban plan zones. We call it industrial zone. So this is the difference. So we can see this figure. On the left-hand side, this pie chart shows that around 68% designated industrial park be developed during 1971 to 1980. This was the golden age for the Taiwanese economy also. And after then, quite a few industrial parks operated by central government be developed. And of course, who took over the roles of central government? It was local government. Local government took the roles from the central government. However, on the peak of 2009, the total areas of industrial land reached the peak. After 2009, we witnessed the loss of industrial land. So what happened? Actually, this resulted from the urbanization and the local democracy. So let's explain what happened in Taiwan after 2009. Today, the industrial land in Taiwan facing challenges and impacts. The first one is about the loss of industrial land, especially in urban area. Because the local government argued that as time went by, when the time changed and things changed, so we needed this industrial land for other use. So this is the first reason that's the loss of industrial land. And secondly, non-industrial use very often on industrial land. So we already started this morning and listening to the presenter saying something about non-agricultural use on agricultural land. And this term also the same, the non-industrial use on industrial land. And some land used for the commercial and the residential use, and seeking for higher rent. And the third is about the rise of local democracy. Local government has their own voice to how to develop this land. And and the last is about NIMBY, the voice of NIMBY, because people in residential areas around the industrial park, they don't like industrial park. So here are two examples. One example from New Taipei City. We can see New Taipei City is the cities around the Taipei City, where we are, and from this map you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All these locations actually suffered from the loss of industrial land. And according to the statistics, since 2001, there has been 22 industrial parks lost in this city, just this city. So it's huge. And another example coming from the Kaohsiung City. Kaohsiung City, in the south part of Taiwan. Kaohsiung City is the biggest, the most important industrial city in Taiwan. And there was a biggest petrochemical factory in Houjin. It was the biggest in Asia, in East Asia, petrochemical, we call it the Wuqing petrochemical factory. However, due to the pollution and due to the NIMBYs, and the local government and the central government decided to shut down this in 2015. So this also another case that's why we lost our industrial land in Taiwan. And another pressure coming from institutional change. In 2016, we introduced the first spatial plan. But why I think the spatial plan is very important, because spatial plan in its Chinese is National Land Use Plan. So this is the first time that Taiwan has official land use plan at the central level. And it divided Taiwan into 4 parts, and the reservation part, ocean part, and the agricultural part, and also urban and rural development part. In the future, all development must be carried out in this very tiny area, very limited area. So this is a big challenge for industrial land use. And what is the response of government? Government, especially economic development agency, they try to confront this challenge, and they are going to release industrial land white paper, hopefully, because not yet. It said this would be the first white paper, first industrial land policy in Taiwan to try to communicate with society, try to keep balance with economy, environmental and sustainable development, and carry on the sustainable development. And some development principles carried in this include how to make land use more efficiencies. That means if you own industrial land but you don't make any development on it, government have the right to purchase back. So this is very restricted policies if it can be released in the future. And this can also resolve some problems about the gap between the land use policy and the industrial development. So what we can learn from the the development of industrial land in Taiwan? I think, personally, I think the early industrial development without the land use policy guide is true. And it also had created rapid growth, but paid the price. And paid the price included disordered land use, fragmented industrial location, and also confusing the industrial land system. And also we can see the awareness of citizens and the environmental protections have brought huge impacts on industrial land development and use. And this also led to institutional change, I mean the reform of special plan, land use plan. And finally, industrial land white paper, hopefully is an answer to land policy. So after 70 years, finally, industrial land would be engaged to the special plan again and respect to land use policy and the unified urban and the non-urban industrial land system in the future. And what is the implication, personally think? I think for the rest of the world, maybe we can think about Taiwan's experience, especially based on a reference model for economy in transition, what we can avoid, what disadvantage we can avoid, and what advantage and we can learn. And also, it's over an understanding of the transformation process of how a development state changed to a regulated state. And also, the return of land use policy reminded us that land use policy actually doesn't matter, but institution adjustment also needs taken as time, inevitably. So that's my presentation. I'm looking for your comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Chen. Professor Chen Anting, thank you.